Chapter 141. 2 Ways to Break You. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. No matter who comes, seeing this scene, they will only feel that enough is enough. Nearly 100 Kurigakure ninjas killed a Konoha ninja, among them there were 30 Jonin. What did Gongyi do to survive? In the next moment, Tsuji Tangyuki's indifferent expression changed. The 7 golden kunai screamed. Passing through the 7 ninjas, surviving, rushed to the back, one circled, and even killed more than a dozen Kurigakure ninjas who released ninjutsu with hand seal. And rushed to Gongyi's face. The group of ninjas in front of them faced an overwhelming sea of fire. Some people screamed, some used sweetened water-style defensive ninjutsu, and some people threw shuriken and detonated talismans to attack the enemy in chaos. A loud shout. Konoha is a whirlwind of force. Countless ninjas were kicked out, and others who were not affected also stopped moving. Fire dissipated, and the mist evaporated. Gongyi stepped out slowly. The turbulent green chakra continued to emerge from the body, and the 7 golden kunai returned to the sky above his head, flying happily and screaming continuously. At this moment, he was like a god descended from the earth. 5, 6, 3. Unstoppable, unparalleled in the world. Tsuji Tangyuli's pupils shrank. With his superb strength, he almost didn't see Gongyi's movements clearly just now. Taijutsu strong, Muji releases ninjutsu, and this unknown golden ninjutsu. Gongyi opened his mouth and spat softly. This is my own creation of Kekkei Genkei, Jin done. Hiss. There was a constant gasp of breath from someone beside him. In the scene just now, the power of the dark blue devil is undisguised and unmatched. This person even created it by himself, the legendary Kekkei Genkei. Retreat. Looked at the first contact with the Kurigakure ninja, who was killed and injured in the blockbuster, and took a step forward. Backed away silently when they saw that he was about to make a move. 3 generations of Mizukage-sama's ninjutsu, they know it. Once activated, it is extremely powerful on the battlefield, but at the same time, it will be indistinguishable between the enemy, and it is easy to hurt people in your own village. Deep Blue Devil is so powerful. I'm curious, what is the ability of Yellow Flash, who is also called Konoha Duo with you? Tsujido Yuli asked interestingly, as if he wanted to explore the bottom line of Konoha's new generation of powerhouses. In his opinion, the generation of Kurigakure village is also full of geniuses. There is Karataki Yagura in the front, Terumi Mei of Anbu, and the invincible genius of the same rank in the back. If you put it in the position of Konoha's new generation of powerhouses, how would the two compare? Gongyi chuckled. If Minato is here, maybe you won't die, but you don't even touch the corners of his clothes. Here. Tsujido Yuli raised his eyebrows and nodded immediately. Rumored that that person is the master of space-time ninjutsu Hiraishin, so it is really tricky. But what about Gongyi? Kekkei Genkei, only Kekkei Genkei can deal with it. Tsujido Yuli squinted his eyes slightly and spit in his mouth. A grayish-yellow mist gradually spread out. Seeing this, all the strong Kurigakure retreated one after another, for fear of being caught in the slightest mist. Gongyi frowned slightly. 3 generations of Mizukage almost never appeared in the original plot, and there is no way to know his ninjutsu information. Only one thing is known, his strength is enough to serve as water, and he can compete with the neighboring villages of Iwagakure and Kumogakure. The 2 fingers are brought together in front of the food. A black spear emerged from the void slowly but extremely quickly, and the spear continued to spread. The length of the spear used to be only 2 meters. As Gongyi's proficiency in this ninjutsu increased, it also rose to 3 meters. Doden, Earth-style, sharp spear. Go. Boom. The black spear swung its tail, like a thunderous explosion, and went straight into the gray-yellow fog. However, when the spear got in and wanted to kill the 3rd generation of Mizukage, from the tip of the spear to the barrel, at a speed visible to the naked eye, it began to dissipate quickly. It was completely reduced to ashes without even a little turbulence. Karataki Yagura shook his head from behind. It's useless. Mizukage, Sama, S. Futon vapor style, is a combination of fire and water chakra, a high-heat mist that can freely adjust the acidity. It can not only evaporate objects with high temperature, but also corrode everything with strong corrosiveness. The others also showed joy. Gong Yi frowned, opened his mouth and spit. Kaden fire style, majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation. Not only that, but he is a quick hand seal with both hands, unleashing an advanced Kaden fire style ninjutsu from the Uchiha family. Kaden fire style, dragon flame release song jutsu. A fire dragon condensed from roaring flames, bursts into the mist with a loud roar. After these two powerful ninjutsu techniques came into contact with the mist, the flames disappeared. The fire dragon persisted for a while, but after entering the 100-meter distance of the third-generation Mizukage, it roared unwillingly, and then dissipated. Deep Blue Devil, let's capture it. I, Kurigakure Village, don't want to fight with Konoha yet. If you stop, the third generation of Hokage will come forward. As long as you make the due compensation, I won't kill you. If you are stubbornly resisting, I can't say much today, and you will be buried here. Gong Yi's pupils shrank after hearing Sujito Sukuri's words. He probably understood the other master's ninjutsu. Futon vapor style, a Kekkei Genkai with mass destruction, once used only by Terumi Mei. This way, Terumi Mei created Yoden lava style, but Futon vapor style should be learned from 3 generations of Mizukage. A person has limited energy and limited talent. It is extremely difficult to create one kind of Kekkei Genkai in one's life. How can it be possible to create another kind? But after finding out the details, Gong Yi did not panic. Body backed up, so that the gray-yellow high-temperature mist would not surround him. He laughed loudly. 3 generations of Mizukage, you are very strong. But your Kekkei Genkai does not mean invincible, at least I. There are 2 ways to deal with you. Sujito Yuli was moving fast in the fog, and when he heard Gong Yi's words, he couldn't help frowning. Don't be ashamed. If you don't believe me, I'll show you today. Gong Yi's 6 gates exploded with all his strength, and with super high speed, he began to rush into the village of Kurigakure frantically. Behind him, the gray-yellow fog kept chasing after him. But in the process of chasing, not only did Gong Yi not get hurt, but it corroded many buildings in Kurigakure village. Level ninjas in the village of Kurigakure who were too late to escape heard those screams, his body trembled, and he subconsciously stopped the fog of Futon vapor style. Standing on the tallest building in the village, Gong Yi laughed out loud. This is the first type. With the spread speed of your Futon vapor style, you can't catch up with me at all. How can you kill me? Sujito Yuli's face was calm, but he sighed inwardly. This is the limitation of Futon vapor style. It can be said to be invincible on large-scale battlefields, forcing Iwagakure and Kumogakure, which are stronger than Kurigakure village, to dare not start the battle lightly. But the speed is too slow. It is difficult to seriously hurt the top powerhouse with fast speed, unless the opponent stands still and lets you fight. If I have the fighting talent of Nadaime II Sama, and the psychic beast, Mirage, I can solve the shortcomings of Futon vapor style. He shook his head and looked at the young man with high spirits. You are right, my ninjutsu speed is indeed not very fast. If it is 1-on-1, I can't kill you. But can you kill me again? You can't even get close to my Futon vapor style range. Gong Yi grinned. This is why he opened the 6th door a long time ago, even mastered Rasengan, and a series of methods such as one-handed hand seal, but he still did not dare to be in a complete state of 5. 9 reasons for cage-level powerhouses to fight. The attack strength is not enough. No matter how fast the speed is, it can't hit or kill the enemy. But now Kekkei Genkai. Use Kekkei Genkai to deal with it. With a raised hand, 7 golden kunai shone brightly in the sun. The scream sounded again, and with an indomitable momentum, it rushed directly into the gray-yellow fog. Third generation of Mizukage has a solemn expression. This kind of ninjutsu, which Gong Yi named Jindan, has never appeared in the ninja world. Its characteristics, no one knows. Judging from the previous observation, the main features are fast and sharp. The fog gradually gathers and becomes thick, constantly rising high temperature, and can even melt the chakra of the tailed beast. In that fog, the 7 kunai moved forward like a swimming fish. Although the speed slowed down, the kunai model constructed by chakra was not damaged in the slightest. How is this possible? Karataki Yagura in the distance changed greatly. Someone could not be corroded and evaporated by Fudan vapor style. Gong Yi was relieved when he saw this. Sure enough, I did not guess wrong. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read for collection. Push the latest chapter Baidu search 99 Playmate find 99 Novel Network. Chapter 142. Out of Karigakure Village 8th more. Chakras with basic attributes have mutual restraint and mutual promotion ability. That being the case, then Kekkei Genkei, which is fused from 2 of the 5 basic chakras, has. The theory of restraint relationship will be confirmed today. Fudan vapor style is composed of water and fire. Chakra fusion. Other words, it should not be called fusion, but should be called excitation. There is a certain restraint relationship between water and fire. Water and fire do not mix, but they cancel each other out and annihilate. In this case, water vapor with high temperature is born, forming the unique Kekkei Genkei. Gong Yi's Jindan, on the other hand, is a fusion of earth and fire, and has hereditary characteristics. In terms of basic attributes, Dodan earth style restrains Suiten water style, and Kaden fire style can offset each other. Addition, the water vapor will continue to dissipate, which is not as good as Mokuden wood style, while Jindan is sturdy and indestructible after the chakra fusion is formed. In this way, Jindan is theoretically restraining Fudan vapor style. Sure enough, those 7 golden escapes, in the high-temperature fog caused by Fudan vapor style, constantly shuttle, looking for the 3 generations of Mizukage hidden in it. Soon, I found it. Facing Jindan Kunai who suddenly appeared in front of him, Sujito Yuli's face changed greatly. Hence, countless mists condensed crazily, and in the blink of an eye it was a mass. Then he rushed to the 7 kunai without fear of death. Not only that, Sujito Yuli also increased the output of chakra, erupting more high-temperature steam. There is even strong acid in it. After the contact between the 2 sides, although Jindan Kunwu continued to advance, the speed eventually slowed down. And under the corrosion of high temperature and strong acid, it slowly dissolves. The same level of Jindan restrained Fudan vapor style. But after desperately increasing the output of chakra, Fudan vapor style's corrosion characteristics continue to increase, but it can also dissolve Jindan's sturdy and indestructible characteristics. There is no absolute restraint in all things in the world. Phew, Tsuji Tangyuki wiped off his sweat and raised his head with lingering fears. The 7 golden escapes were completely corroded by him, but he also spent a lot of chakra. I admit that you are a real genius, and it is amazing to even create this unique and powerful Kekkei Genkei. But how much chakra do you have now? And I'm not alone. Kill him. Tsuji Tangyuki's face was gloomy, but today he was forced to such a state by a young man. He didn't even care about his identity. The ninjas who had been scattered before rushed forward again. Gong Yi is not afraid, as long as there is no threat from cage-level powerhouses. These trash fish can't keep him. However, there is no need to delay here any longer. Strong a person is, 2 fists can't match 4 hands. 3 generations of rakeage have been exhausted by tens of thousands of ninjas. As he fought, he ran outside the village. Some of the ninjas approaching him, before they performed ninjutsu, were hand-sealed by him with 1 hand and solved at a faster speed. However, under this siege and escape, he also began to get injured gradually, and chakra used less and less. Sujito Yuli snorted coldly, and also chased after him. And the direction he chased was very special, and the faintness was Gong Yi's best escape route. Best before, because Mizukage resists, then after that. Jedi. Seeing that Gong Yi had already rushed not far away, and when the two were about to collide in the next second, Tsuji Dozuki roared angrily. Stay with me. Futen, vapor style, as a blast. Two completely different chakras collided, and with 100% restraint, they instantly mutated into a unique Futen, vapor style chakra. With a bang, countless steams even possessed the characteristics of an explosion. Gong Yi's face was horrified, and his head crashed into the high-temperature steam that exploded and roared. Everyone stopped. Under this move, even the third-generation Reikage, who claims to have the strongest shield and the strongest spear, will definitely not survive. Tsujido Sukuri is also the same, panting heavily, in the steam that fills the sky. Perhaps, a skeleton can be left behind. Just when he relaxed, a golden light came dazzlingly. Shu, Kai, just like steel pierced through tofu, golden light pierced through the chest of the third-generation Mizukage, and after a circle, it burrowed into the high-temperature steam behind. Gong Yi never said that he can only make 7 chakra kunai. And he also has a very good habit of leaving his whole cards. A figure suddenly emerged from the desperate situation. Then he rushed out of the encirclement and disappeared outside the village of Kurigakure at a terrifying speed. Some people saw that the figure's skin was festering, and even one face showed white bones. Karataki Yagura roared, ran over, and hugged the 3-generation Mizukage who was about to fall. Mizukage-sama, are you alright? Mizukage-sama, hold on. Come on, call a medical ninja. Deep Blue Devil, I'm going to kill you. To the most trusted Anbu escort team, Karataki Yagura chased after him with a grim expression. The Fog, a 4-person team of 4 is slowly advancing. The leader of them was wearing a black coat and a mask of marine life on his face. Wine Yuhi-colored long hair follows the curve of the shape, falls down like a waterfall, and finally hangs on. Black coat seemed to cover up her curves completely. 3 members who followed behind looked at her back and couldn't help swallowing. However, he didn't dare to have any ideas. Just because of this woman, her temper is too grumpy and her strength is terrifyingly powerful. Tell me, is this war with Iwagakure village going to end? I don't know, but it is said that Tsuchikage of Iwagakure village has left the village. Is he going to the front line himself? That guy is old, how could he be our Mizukage-sama's opponent? I think it's good to fight. It's time to let all countries in the ninja world know the strength of our Kurigakure village. Yeah, when we fight, we can kill the enemy and make merit. Captain even has a chance to go a step further. With the talent and strength of our captain, only Lord Yagura in the village can compete. If there are a few more years, maybe the captain, there is still a chance to compete for the position of Mizukage. Shish, don't talk nonsense, the 3rd-generation Mizukage-sama is not old enough to move. And he likes Yagura-sama even more. HMPH, he just thinks our captain is a woman, not suitable to be a Mizukage. The 3 people muttered to each other, constantly coming from behind. In front suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Is there an enemy? Woman turned around abruptly, grabbed a player and smashed it on the ground. How can the big man talk so much? It's so noisy. Hiss. No one dared to speak anymore. The team member who was smashed got up quickly. He wasn't actually hurt much. Although the captain has a grumpy temper, he is still kind-hearted. Woman clapped her hands, but her face changed slightly. In her ears, there was a roar, getting louder and louder, as if some monster was running and rushing towards them. Close. Close. 100 meters. 50 meters. Boom. The thick fog dissipated, and a man with blisters all over his face and even his bones exposed in many places suddenly appeared in front of them. Who? Woman shouted loudly, with a hand seal in her hand, ready to go. Go away. That terrifying man waved his hand, and endless flames spewed out. Woman's mouth swelled, and the huge magma was like a volcanic eruption, facing the person who came. Soon as the flame magma came into contact, the flame was swallowed up, and the magma even became stronger. Seeing this scene, the three-member team members couldn't help but sneer. This enemy is stupid, he actually dared to attack the captain without weighing his own weight. But an astonishing scene appeared. That man actually twisted his waist abruptly in the air, turned around, and avoided the dangerous Yan 780 slurry. A golden light shot out even more, and went straight to the woman's face. Woman, in shock, backed away frantically. Jin Guang was unreasonable and kept chasing after her. Speed was too fast, and it slashed her face fiercely. From left to right, from top to bottom, from the right eye forehead, to the corner of the mouth below. Woman stood there stiffly, the mask on her face shattered into 2 pieces. Then it fell to the ground, and there was a faint trace of blood on her face. Just a little bit, and her head can be chopped to pieces. The fleeing man glanced at it and let out a sigh. Terumi Mei. But soon, he ignored Terumi Mei and ran away frantically. In the back of his path, an angry roar continued to sound, and the huge chakra continued to destroy the trees along the way. Karataki Yagura suddenly appeared at the place where they fought just now, looking gloomily in the direction where Gong Yi was gone. He rolled his eyes and stared at Terumi Mei. Why don't you stop him? Before Terumi Mei could speak, her team members explained. The captain has already taken action, but the enemy is too powerful, and we are too hasty to prepare. Click. Karataki Yagura retracted the long stick, and the place with the hook on the stick had a touch of blood. Who spoke just now opened his mouth wide and couldn't say anything. His throat was slit. I didn't ask you. Humph, Terumi Mei, I'll settle the account with you when I come back. Those words, Karataki Yagura chased after him again. Terumi Mei still stood there dumbfounded, her hand gently caressed her cheek, and a light bloodshot spread on it. "S not deep, it only takes a few days to recover automatically, and it won't hurt her peerless appearance." Trace of blood touched her finger, and she subconsciously licked it with her tongue. How could that man know my name? Who is he? Chapter 143. Lord Gong Yi, please. Open black lens bracket 9th more close black lens bracket. Wow, wow, the big river is rushing endlessly, the waves are rolling forward, and after a few hundred miles, it is the vast sea. Gong Yi endured inhuman pain, and on him, it was a horrific wound that was ultimate. High-temperature steam, his skin was festering, his hands and legs were bubbling, and when it exploded, a lot of surface flesh was blown through, revealing the bones of Bai Shengsheng. He began to understand why Tsuchikage, the second generation, was wearing bandages all year round. Because the second generation Mizukage, who had been his enemy all his life, was better at foot and vapor style than the third generation Mizukage. But even so, Gong Yi did not lose his fighting power. Tsuji Tanyuki was hurt more than he was. The only gold he had left, Kuzai, directly pierced his chest. If it wasn't for Sujido Sukari's rich experience, he quickly turned his body into water, and he would have already died. But even so, Sujido Yuli was seriously injured and directly lost the ability to fight. HMPH, if it wasn't for the large number of ninjas left in the village of Kurigakure, I would be able to kill a veteran cage-level powerhouse head-on today. Gong Yi was a little unwilling, but he didn't regret it. Pretend to be calm in front of the corner, all to scare the other party away, and then kill the old Monziman, and then in the back, defeat the 4th generation Kazekage Rasa of the new generation. Now, surrounded by the Kurigakure ninjas, he has nearly killed the veteran Mizukage. His strength is undergoing earth-shaking changes. Now Gong Yi, one-on-one, he is almost not afraid of any cage-level powerhouse, and even has a great chance to kill the opponent. If in a few years, the 8 inner gates will be improved, and the Kekkei Genkei master will become more skilled, how terrifying he will be, but that will be in the future. And now, Gong Yi endured the severe pain and ran away while looking back. The top powerhouse of the new generation of Kurigakure village, Karatake Yagura, is hunting him down. With his current state, the rejuvenation technique would definitely not be able to heal right away. It is better to walk than to stop to recover. The next time he came to Kurigakure village, Yagura hummed. With a cold hum, Gongyi stopped abruptly. But leaving an unforgettable memory for Yagura. Spiritism. Biting a finger, a small snake emerged from the ground. Gongyi put the only remaining golden dungeon in front of the little snake. Swallow it! Exclamation mark quote. When someone comes after you, spit it out. The little snake opened its mouth in fear, and swallowed the handle. Golden kunai into its belly. The sharp chakra almost cut through its body. Gongyi took a deep breath, stopped focusing on the back, and left here directly. After a few breaths, Karatake Yagura came down here with a long stick with a hook, just as he was about to chase straight ahead. A small snake in the jungle suddenly opened its mouth. The golden light suddenly drilled out, and then rushed into the sky. Immediately, a shrill howl resounded throughout the sky. Ah! Karatake Yagura's body trembled, holding a golden kunai that was shaking wildly in one hand and covering the left half of his face with the other. Golden kunai was unmanned and too far away from Gongyi. The chakra gradually dissipated in the air. Blood dripped down the left face covered by the hand, dying Yuhi's left hand. A scar with deep visible bone is shocking. Karatake Yagura suddenly raised his head and roared. Deep Blue Devil. ... Konoha Shinobi Village. The cheerful atmosphere in the village that once became due to the victory over Sunagakure has disappeared. 7 people of ninja attacked Konoha, although 4 died and 3 escaped, but in this battle, Konoha also died a genin and a jonin. It sounds like a good deal, but the strength that genin burst out before his death far exceeds that of cage-level powerhouses. That would be very uneconomical. And the one who died, jonin, who belonged to the Hyuga family, heard that his eyes were gouged out. Of course, human life does not gain weight because of quantity and status. Makes Konoha humiliated is that people actually come to kill people. This is simply a great shame. In the village, there are already many families who want to start the war again. Spear, the country of water, the village of Kurigakure. But all this was suppressed by the 3 generations of Hokage. Reason is simple, Konoha has just been through a war and needs to recuperate. In this case, the family of the Konoha main war faction had to die. But, under the arrangement of Hokage, the village has strengthened its security. Especially in the periphery of the village, there are countless ninjas who are secretly vigilant and will not let the previous situation repeat itself. Compared to this arrangement, Konoha's executives can actually just give orders casually, and their focus is mainly on the man. Konoha duo, Dark Blue Devil, chased down the remaining 3 of the ninja swords 3. He wants to avenge the murder of his subordinates, and he has to take back the eyes that were gouged out by his subordinates. The eyes of countless people gradually focused on the village of Kurigakure side. In some villages also kept sending back the news of Gongyi. 10 days after the incident, Lord Gongyi killed the Thunder Sword Kurosuke Thunder Kiba in the Land of Waves. 1 month later, Lord Gongyi rubbed against the village of Iwagakure and Kurigakure, and killed Sukazan Fuguki with the sword. A month ago, there was a riot in the village of Kurigakure. It is reported that a strong man broke in and killed Biwajuzo. Interrupted Karatake Yagura's wedding, and nearly killed 3 generations of Mizukage under the siege. Master Gongyi was seriously injured, and his whereabouts are unknown. This piece of information made Konoha's top management and all the major Konoha families unable to sit still. If he killed Kurosuke Kiba at the beginning, it would be of course, after all, Gongyi is a dark blue demon. Miles behind and killed Sukazan Fuguki, it is reasonable, he is in existence as famous as Namikaze Minato. But when he forcibly broke into the village of Kurigakure, killed Biwajuzo, and fought a village one by one, and even nearly killed 3 generations of Mizukage, the results of this kind of victory made people stunned. I heard that when the news came back, Lord Hokage did not leave the office for a whole day. Uchiha Fugaku of the Konoha security force broke the teacup on the spot. Also heard that the head of the Hyuga clan sent a total of 500 Hyuga clans that day, some of whom were divided, and even the main clan who never sent out to perform tasks. These 500 Hyuga tribesmen, in a fan-shaped area, went deep into the territory of the Land of Waves, preparing to receive Gongyi who escaped from the serious injury. As for other families, the reaction was also mixed. Some laughed, some thought. Some people applauded, while others frowned. Until 2 months later, when a man shrouded in a black trench coat appeared at the gate of Konoha with 3 heads, all the voices disappeared. Swish, 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 swish. All right, a team, 444 ninjas, jumped out of the shadows. The leader is the Uchiha tribe. Stop here, and show your identity. A hoarse voice came from under the kabuto hat that was one piece in a black trench coat. Gongyi. Hiss. The 4 of them vibrated in unison, and their eyes subconsciously fell on the 3 heads. Could this be Gulong, the master of the 3 ninja swords who escaped? The Uchiha clan, headed by them, swallowed their saliva, but they remained sensible and devoted themselves to their duties. Sorry, Lord Gongyi. Better take off your hat and let me see your face. Otherwise I can't confirm your identity, I'm really sorry. The man shook his head, raised his head slightly, and lifted the corner of his kabuto hat. Those clear but deep black eyes are only possessed by Gongyi in Konoha. However, the Uchiha clan only took one look at his face and took 3 steps back in fright. Sorry, I scared you. Can I go in? The Uchiha people bent down deeply. Master Gongyi, please. Chapter 144. Shadow. The existence of a movie king. Open black lens bracket 10th more close black lens bracket. Sky is blue and cloudless. It was originally a day when the autumn atmosphere was refreshing and the mood was bright, but the crowd gathered at this moment was silent and silent. In an ice coffin, the corpse of the young man, which was neatly arranged, lay quietly inside. Gongyi looked at him calmly, no sentimentality, no apology, and no sadness. No matter what. The group of Hyuga people in the back, he took out a glass bottle from his body. Eyeballs without pupils, lost the hideousness after Byakugan was turned on, and a bit blurry and hazy. Hands stretched out, and the chakra scalpel lighted up, cutting the flesh around the black hole of the corpse's eye socket. Open the glass bottle and put the 2 eyeballs in slowly but forcefully. Chakra surged, and the eyeballs were quickly connected around the eye sockets. If the person in front of him is still alive, then relying on the nervous system and chakra, he will soon gain light. It's just a pity, the eyeballs that were soaked in the nutrient solution quickly lost their cell activity, and after 10 minutes they became a pair of useless Byakugan. Gongyi slid his hand over the corpse's eyelids, closed his eyes, and slowly closed the ice coffin. Qianzong, I found your eyes for you. Go in peace, the road to heaven, you should see clearly. Behind Gongyi, there are no other clans of ninjas, only the hundreds of Hyuga clansmen. Because the one to be buried today is not a big man, just a 16-year-old ninja who became Jonin. Perhaps it was just because he had one of Gongyi's former team members, subordinates, and this identity, made 320 him enjoy the most glorious attention from birth to death. The Hyuga tribe exudes an air of sadness, but not too strong. Hyuga 1000 sect, in the family, the status can only be said to be average. They are more looking at that. The back shrouded in the black windbreaker, curious, doubtful, respectful, admiring. It is this man who travels thousands of miles, and even kills at the village of Kurigakure, and wants to win back his eyes for his subordinates. Such a lucky captain. Hyuga Hiyashi and Hyuga Hazashi looked at each other. Hazashi nodded and stepped forward. Gongyi, please don't be sad, pay attention to your body. Gongyi said hoarsely, no, I'm not sad. From the time Qianzong became a ninja, he should have known that such a day would come, the difference was only sooner or later. In fact, his life has been wonderful. Hazashi sighed. Hyuga Kionzong is a child he likes very much, low-key in the family, but very hardworking. 16-year-old Jonan is already considered to be very talented. It's just a pity that I closed my eyes before I could enjoy the future life. Perhaps as Gong Yi said, Kionzong's life is already exciting enough. After thinking about it, Hazashi asked with concern, Gong Yi, your body. Hee. Gong Yi chuckled, then shook his head. The 3 generations of Mizukage are not vain. I can kill from the village of Kurigakure without leaving any price. It's easier said than done. Don't worry, I am so good at medical ninjutsu. After a few years of training, I will recover. A few years. Hyuga Hazashi gasped. Was Gong Yi injured so badly? With his strength and his medical ninjutsu, it took years to recover. I'm going home. I'm very tired recently. Gong Yi waved his hand and left the cemetery a little lonely. Behind him, there are hundreds of Hyuga people watching from afar. When Hyuga Hazashi told his elder brother Hiyashi what he had just said, Hiyashi was also stunned. But soon, he shook hands firmly, turned around, and looked at himself. You must be well aware of what Lord Gong Yi has done this time. My Hyuga clan is indebted to him. Taking back the eyes of the clan, everyone should keep this kindness in their hearts. The future, if Gong Yi needs anything, as long as it is within the scope of his ability, he will help. Everyone nodded. A feeling called respect and gratitude permeated from their bodies. Just after Gong Yi returned to the village and Hyuga Kionzong's funeral was over, the news that Gong Yi was seriously injured and even disfigured gradually spread throughout the village. Along with it, there is also the Gong Yi deeds that the high-level people no longer control and deliberately publicize. Kill thousands of miles, just to avenge his subordinates. Forced into the village of Kurigakure, and fought against many strong Kurigakure in Mizukage, and seriously injured Mizukage. Such news, among ordinary villagers and low-level ninjas who knew nothing before, rumored gotta be buzzing. As for some Jonin and family powerhouses, Akatsuki has long been known. While they secretly regretted that Gong Yi was injured and disfigured, they could not help but respect him a little more. Even the Uchiha family, who didn't like Gong Yi, fell silent. The Uchiha family is arrogant, and arrogant. But at the same time, they value love and righteousness, and regard their bondage as more important than anyone else. Gong Yi once trampled on Uchiha's pride, but now he has shown his love for his subordinates. Unspoken love. After the conflicting psychological battle, even Uchiha Fugaku could only sigh. If I didn't have demonic illusion to deal with him at the time, even if I couldn't be friends, it wouldn't be the embarrassing situation it is now. Of course, Fugaku is still happy in his heart. Gong Yi is not dead. Mangekyo's eye-opening method will get it sooner or later. Gong Yi was seriously injured, and he was no longer a threat to Uchiha. For such a task, there is nothing wrong with giving some respect. The 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen are perhaps the most tangled and contradictory one. Gong Yi's rapid growth made him uneasy, but Gong Yi voluntarily fell to his side, willing to be a weapon in his hands, and he gradually let go of his unease. As long as it is well controlled, then this weapon is the best means. Not only against Uchiha, but also against the ambitious Danzo in the future. But when Gong Yi came to make a riot in Kurigakure village and seriously injured Mizukage, Sarutobi Hiruzen began to be afraid of Gong Yi. He didn't expect that Gong Yi secretly became so powerful. Record, his strength has definitely reached cage level, not even lower than himself. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not dare to hold or use such a weapon, and even wanted to destroy it. But now, Gong Yi is disfigured, and dare not show people with a ferocious and terrifying face. Gong Yi was seriously injured and it will take several years to recover, so his progress has stopped. What a genius is most afraid of is, stop moving. Sarutobi Hiruzen is a pity again. It's the future of the village. It's a pity to die so young. Sarutobi Hiruzen is just Such a contradictory, indecisive person, with a deep mind, who is always thinking about the future of the village. Occasionally suppresses the powerhouses he does not like, but most of the time, he supports the geniuses of the new generation. Gong Yi doesn't know this, he only knows that after he got home, a woman rushed in like crazy. Tsunade looked at Gong Yi anxiously, trembling hands, and wanted to lift Gong Yi's hat, but he was too late. How are you? Gong Yi smiled. Fortunately, he didn't die, at least. He came back alive. Hearing Gong Yi's hoarse throat and the occasional festering skin leaking from the corners of his eyes, Tsunade's eye sockets were full of yuhi. You're still laughing, why did you break into the village of Kurigakure? Didn't you already kill Kurosuke Lei Kiba, Fubuki? Biwa Juzo, you have a chance to kill him later. In the village of Kurigakure, there are 3 generations of old Mizukage, how dare you be so bold? Gong Yi listened quietly to Tsunade's constant scolding, and he could feel the deep concern and heartache inside. Tsunade slowly recovered his emotions and firmly extended his hand. Let me take a look. Gong Yi didn't stop, the black kabuto hat was taken off, and a terrifying face made people feel intimidated. If there are children here, they will definitely cry. Even some vulnerable girls can't bear it. Tsunade suddenly covered his mouth, tears pouring out. She had never been so emotional in all these years. Forcefully controlling himself, Tsunade lifted Gong Yi's sleeves and trousers under his coat. She remembered very clearly that Tsuji Dozuki was the best at foot and vapor style, and few of the enemies who fought with him ended well. When she saw piece after piece of festering skin, she couldn't control herself at all, and hugged Gong Yi into her arms. Tsunade burst into tears. Woman, even Tsunade, who is as strong as Sanin, is only a weak woman. Gong Yi felt a little guilty at this time. Have you acted too much? Read the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 145. Orochimaru, are you still you? Open black lens bracket 11th more close black lens bracket. Tsunade is gone with sadness. She also offered to treat Gong Yi herself, but was rejected by Gong Yi. Gong Yi's reasoning was so simple that Tsunade couldn't refute it. Teacher's medical ninjutsu, it seems that I don't have it. Sitting in the yard for a while, the autumn sun was very warm, but Gong Yi didn't want to bear it. Go back to the house, open the seal, and enter your own laboratory. After entering, Gong Yi lifted off the black coat that covered him, and appeared in front of the mirror with a rather ferocious body. If it were others, it might be scary, but Gong Yi turned a blind eye. His injury is almost better, and in a few days at most, he will be able to return to his prosperous state. Terrifying injuries left on the body are just looking terrifying. As long as he uses the rejuvenation technique 2 more times, he will be able to become that. A beautiful young man with a face like a crown of jade and a jade tree facing the wind. But don't worry. Gong Yi sees it very clearly. Following his battle with Mizukage, his power exploded so fast that many people in the village began to fear. His own team is far from established. On the battlefield have returned to their families and become family medical ninjas. But Gong Yi is not afraid. As long as there is a suitable opportunity, these people will come back to him. In this case, Gong Yi must have a reason to hide and not become the focus of everyone's fear. Severe injuries, disfigurement, is a reason that can't be more perfect. Serious injuries need to be healed, and disfigurement cannot appear in front of people. Presumably those who are afraid of themselves, and even want to get rid of themselves, have put their guard down. No one will doubt whether Gong Yi is pretending. A man of 11 or 12 years old had a fight with the Mizukage in the dignified village of Kurigakure, and then nothing happened. Who would believe it and do it? There is a benefit. Gong Yi clicked on the system panel, Yuhi color task. One of the missions, Konoha Ninja Attitude Respect, has been successfully completed. Gong Yi used to want to rely on the next few wars to gain reputation. Unexpectedly, after this battle, it was actually completed. Even the arrogant ninjas from the big clans respected him. Hee, this should be considered a surprise. Gong Yi shook his head, not feeling much joy. After all, it was because of the death of his subordinates that this happened. If possible, Gong Yi would prefer to choose the natural way to gain reputation. Peeling off a piece of dead skin, Gong Yi frowned and looked at his body. Is full of explosive power, and the cell activity far exceeds that of ordinary people's bodies. For the first time, he felt a little dissatisfied. Many blue skies in autumn, but there are also times when the autumn rain is continuous, which makes people feel cold. Gong Yi was wrapped in a black coat, his nose was covered by the neckline. He quietly looked at the determined young man in front of him, stretched out his hand and rubbed his watermelon head. Sorry, Guy, I didn't have time to attend your father's funeral. Might Guy shook his head. Captain, you don't need to say sorry, you've done enough for my father. Speaking of which, there was a bit of confusion in his eyes. Captain Qianzong and his father's revenge have been avenged by Captain Gong Yi. What about yourself? Have you seen Qianzong? Gong Yi asked in a soft voice. Might Guy nodded. Kaiwei and I went to see it yesterday. Gong Yi hummed, and then he didn't speak. Might Guy also stood quietly in front of Gong Yi. I don't know what to think. Under the eaves, raindrops tickly hit the bluestone slab, and the crisp sound seemed extraordinarily quiet. A long while, Might Guy looked up and asked, Captain, what do you think I should do in the future? Gong Yi looked at him, smiled slightly and said, Why, I can't find my way forward, or I don't know the meaning of life or have lost my way. Might Guy shook his head and said in a low voice, No, I can't think of these esoteric things, I just feel empty inside. The once hot-blooded teenager also became depressed after the death of the captain and the death of his father in battle. Gong Yi thought for a while, then said slowly, Maybe you should get in touch with more things, make more friends, and fill your empty heart. If you don't want to do these things for a while, you can only do things that require passion. You can also choose to keep getting stronger and let the gradually rising strength numb your current sadness. Might Guy wondered, Get stronger. Ask you a question, what do you want to do if you get stronger? Gong Yi suddenly asked an irrelevant question. Might Guy pursed his lips and didn't know how to answer, his brain was not very smart. Gong Yi sighed and answered for him, Qianzong is strong enough, so he chose to stay and cut off the queen. Your father is strong enough, so he can protect you in Kaiwei. You don't want to, every time, you stand behind others and let others protect you. Men, you can't be a coward for a lifetime, even if it is a moment of brilliance, it should be what you yearn for. Might Guy stared blankly at Gong Yi, a little confused, and gradually found his way. He squeezed his fist tightly. Captain, I understand. I will practice hard and work hard to become stronger. Sooner or later, I will stand in the forefront of my companions like the captain of the Thousand Sect and my father. Even if it's just for a moment. Gong Yi nodded in relief and waved his hand. Go ahead and get along with your new teammates. You are still young, you still have a long way to go, and you have to help Qianzong go all the way. Might Guy turned to leave, stepping into the drizzle. Just as he was about to leave, he glanced back at Gong Yi. Captain Gong Yi, why does it make people feel so old, lonely? He put his hands to his mouth, raised his voice, and shouted loudly, Captain, you have to take care of yourself, I'll come back from the next mission and bring you a gift. After saying that, he ran into the rain. Gong Yi stood under the eaves with his hands on his back, looking at the sky with indifference. His lips moved slightly. Come out, Orochimaru, it's not very comfortable to hide your head and tail. Hey. The gloomy but appreciative laughter kept ringing. Orochimaru slowly appeared beside Gong Yi, and the way he appeared was very strange. Gong Yi frowned, he had never seen Orochimaru in such a weird way, not even in the original. As expected of the Gong Yi-kun I admire. I didn't expect to hide so much power, that guy Mizukage, I don't think it's easy to deal with. Unexpectedly, you almost killed him, still under the siege of a group of Kurigakure ninjas. Tisk tisk. Constantly admiring, Orochimaru has not been stingy with his compliments from his appearance to the present. Gong Yi said lightly, this is also thanks to your guidance. If it wasn't for your guidance on ninjutsu during this time, I wouldn't have improved so fast. ... Oh yeah. Orochimaru pretended to be surprised and then licked his tongue. I'm curious, it is rumored that you used an unheard and unseen Kekkei Jinkei in the village of Kurigakure. Well, you call it Jin-dun. Gong Yi didn't answer, just held out his finger. A thin gold thread flexibly wrapped around his hand, and when it occasionally cut through the void, it was faintly dazzling. Orochimaru's expression became solemn. The golden thread seemed to contain only a faint chakra. However, its sharpness, if there is nothing, made him not dare to underestimate it. He subconsciously wanted to reach out, but seeing Gong Yi's indifferent eyes, he held it back. Hands behind his back and standing side by side with Gong Yi under the roof, he sighed, the future generations are terrifying. I have studied ninjutsu for half my life, and only then did I complete and create a few ninjutsu. But when it comes to power, it doesn't seem to be comparable to your Kekkei Jinkei. Gong Yi twitched the corners of his mouth. What you create yourself, what suits you, is the strongest. But Orochimaru, you said it yourself. Orochimaru nodded with sympathy. Although his mouth was envious, he did not feel that he was weaker than others. Just a little more attention to Gong Yi. After the news that Gong Yi almost killed Mizukage, he has put Gong Yi on the same level as himself. Squinting slightly, Orochimaru looked at Gong Yi, who was shrouded in a black trench coat. Your body, can we continue our cooperation? Research is not fighting. My body is not as fragile as you think. That's good. Looking forward to our next meeting. Oh, by the way, it's 200 Hashirama cells, which is the share you haven't received for the past 2 months. Orochimaru left something behind, and slowly disappeared into the air. It's just that before his body completely disappeared, Gong Yi's voice came from beside him. Orochimaru, the current you, is it still you? Orochimaru's pupils shrank, took a deep look at Gong Yi, and disappeared. Chapter 146. The war machine starts to turn again. 12th more. Reincarnation. Orochimaru developed a ninjutsu that can transfer spiritual power to other people's bodies and keep their own body functions from being weakened by the years. In a sense, it can be called immortality. In addition to retaining the ninjutsu that he knows, he can also exert his own bloodline power to seize the body. However, this technique is too flawed, and people's spiritual will is constantly adapting to their body from birth to growth. If the unfamiliar spirit is integrated into it, there will be a great rejection reaction. If the body being taken is strong enough, this rejection will be counteracted a lot by the body itself. Sy Orochimaru, in order to make up for the inadequacy of immortality, began to study Hashirama cells and sage art, and even put his hope on the Kekkei Jinkei, Sharingan bloodline. Gong Yi knows a lot about this technique, and he also has another way of understanding it. 3220. This thing is similar to the snatch in the world of Shenxia. Isn't he exactly the same? And even the rejection reaction after taking the house is very similar. Originally, Orochimaru was at the top of Sanin's strength, beating Jiraiya and Tsunade. But in addition to profound knowledge, frontal combat power was gradually surpassed by Jiraiya. This is not the same as the immortal cultivator taking someone else's house and thus having a bottleneck. Of course, he will not use this specious point of view. He cared about was that the means by which Orochimaru slowly dissipated into the air just now was not a time-space ninjutsu, but rather a special secret technique. Or if the bloodline power is really like this, then Orochimaru has completed his first reincarnation in the 2 months since he left Konoha. So, Gong Yi asked that question just now. Judging from Orochimaru's reaction, it also confirmed his own thoughts. Gong Yi shook his head. Orochimaru is no longer a big threat to me now. Instead of paying attention to him, it's better to try to solve your own problems first. Picking up the Hashirama cell, Gong Yi walked into the underground laboratory. Looking at the body in the mirror, Gong Yi took a deep breath. Just like Orochimaru was dissatisfied with his body, Gong Yi gradually discovered his body's flaws. His foundation is too poor. After so many years of polishing and training, his body strength has indeed surpassed that of most people, not even weaker than a cage-level expert who specializes in ninjutsu. But that's all. It really is. That's all. The power of Kekkei Genkai, Gong Yi has already understood after researching it. That is indeed an existence that surpasses ordinary ninjutsu and even some advanced ninjutsu. From the energy level, the ordinary chakra is pulled, which belongs to a higher level of energy. But in the process of using it, Gong Yi found out that although there is still a lot of room for improvement in power, the master doesn't seem to have the same power as Senju Hashirama Mokuden, wood style, in the original work. There is no such thing as Sharingan, Rinnegan. Bandit effect. Jindun's power, developed to ultimate, seems to be only the level of the 5 shadows. Although the cage level is enough for Gong Yi to endure. But think about the Fourth World War. When the land was destroyed that day, it didn't look like a human-like battle scene. Gong Yi is not satisfied, he will never be satisfied. So what is the reason why Jindun can't exert its power to the greatest extent? Is Jindun too spicy, or there is a problem with the way he uses it, or Mokuden, wood style, Sharingan, etc.? Gong Yi himself is one level higher than ordinary Kekkei Genkai. Shaking his head, he won't think about this kind of thing. He just is it, researches it, understands and bridges these gaps. Eventually, Gong Yi discovered the cause of the problem. The chakra of Kekkei Genkai is a fusion of at least 2 types of chakra. This also means that one blood chakra requires the consumption of 2 chakras that are fused with mental power and physical power. With the help of divine refinement, my spiritual power has been improved very quickly. However, physical exercise cannot be accelerated, it can only be accumulated over time. In other words, my physical strength has begun to hold back. Gong Yi thought about the battle with Mizukage a month ago, then thought about Terumi Mei's Yoden lava style, and even more thought about the future. Great power and range of ninjutsu. Of chakra required for such a large area of ninjutsu is unimaginable. My own golden escape, master, has been for a while. At present, only 8 Jindun Kunwu can be condensed. Although the power is strong, the coverage area is only a few dozen people at most. It doesn't make sense. Think of a random Mokuden, wood style, ninjutsu from Senju Hashirama, and that's a giant tree rising from the ground. Gong Yi also thinks very much that he can do any Jindun ninjutsu at will, and behind him there are thousands of golden lights. With a wave of his hand, tens of thousands of enemies are all taken away. After all, the problem has returned to the original starting point. Gong Yi sighed and looked at his body. My body is already strong. But if you want to have a bigger breakthrough, you have to move forward through decades of accumulation, as Might Dai did. Even with the double support of gravity, this time will take more than 10 years. I can't wait that long, I need a stronger body to make more chakras. Gong Yi shifted his gaze slowly to the 200 Hashirama cells that Orochimaru sent. In the laboratory, there are still 100 copies that have not been used the last time. 300 Hashirama cells can support long-term research. Gong Yi pursed his lips. The fusion of Hashirama cells is not without precedent. Some old guy underground may have perfectly fused Hashirama cells. Old guy can do it, so can he. I, Gong Yi, have never been weaker than people. Just when Gong Yi concentrated on his cultivation and research on Hashirama cells, the peace of the ninja world was completely broken. Iwagakure village declared war on Kurigakure village. Reasons don't matter. Gratitude doesn't matter. Iwagakure village is to defeat a big ninja village and establish its own illustrious name. It wants to wrestle with Kumogakure village and Konoha. 1-6 With the full support of Daimyo of the Land of the Earth, the war machine that had been prepared for a long time in Iwagakure village, moved. And that old guy Onoki really saw the timing right. The current Kurigakure village is called the weakest Kurigakure village in history. 7 people of the ninja's sword all died in battle. The new heir of the ninja's sword will be out. Third generation of Mizukage was seriously injured by the dark blue demon, and his life and death are still unknown. Especially the village of Kurigakure, which has been turbulent in recent years, has made the daimyo of the Land of Water extremely dissatisfied, and various resources are not as supportive as before. Perhaps once under the second generation Mizukage master, Kurigakure village could compete with Iwagakure village. But now Onoki himself was on the front lines, looking ambitiously at the mist-shrouded land. This battle, Iwagakure village, will be won at lightning speed. Break down the village of Kurigakure and deter Konoha and Kumogakure. Chapter 147. The First Way Fails. 13th. Hokage Building. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the young man across from him with complicated eyes. A black robe shrouded him tightly, only a pair of clear eyes revealed it. That's why the 7 ninja swordsmen approached our village, to kill you, and the huge bounty. Gong Yi said lightly. This information was an unexpected joy from his pursuit of Biwajuzo and others. It at such a time would be considered a statement of his position, and he was still on the side of the third generation of Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen thoughtfully, Gong Yi, what do you think about this? Gong Yi doesn't, he said without thinking. Perhaps for the 7 ninja swordsmen and the 7 congregations, their focus is on standing up. But for us, who actually paid the huge bounty as the focus. Because of this, it is very likely that it is an enemy hidden in the village. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, he thought so too. Two chatted for a while, and Sarutobi Hiruzen paid special attention to Gong Yi's injury. Knowing that Gong Yi needs to rest for a few years, he expressed his pity. But that's all. Regarding the war between Iwagakure village and Kurigakure village, the latter villages will make corresponding arrangements. Border is strengthened, and more teams will be dispatched to perform intelligence tasks. Gong Yi chatted for a while, then said goodbye and left. As he stepped out of the Hokage building, the sun was setting, and the sloping yellow light shone on the village. Standing in the setting sun, Gong Yi stopped, and 29 looked aside. In the shade of a tree, a man with a cane looked at him. Shimura Danzo. The two looked at each other for a long time, and Danzo finally couldn't help but open his mouth. Introduce myself, Shimura Danzo, once the second-generation Hokage escort, Sarutobi Hiruzen teammate, and now the leader of the route. Gong Yi nodded, neither surprised nor curious. Danzo was a little surprised when he saw his unsurprised appearance. But thinking of the other party's young age, he has made such a name, and he is relieved. Are you interested in working together? Cooperation. Gong Yi tilted his head and thought for a while. A chuckle from his black robe said, when I had nothing to do, you didn't look for me. Now that I'm seriously injured, you come to me to cooperate. Danzo's face is not very good looking. Of course he had noticed Gong Yi long ago, but Sarutobi Hiruzen's suppression made him not dare to touch Gong Yi. Now that Gong Yi was seriously injured, and everyone in the village no longer paid attention to Gong Yi, he dared to take action. A cough, Danzo said, I work with you, not because of your strength. It's your good medical ninjutsu. Another one who takes a fancy to his own medical ninjutsu. Gong Yi sneered, then waved his hand. Right now, I just want to recuperate and have no intention of cooperating. After saying that, he just left. Danzo leaned heavily on the crutches behind him. Why are you so stubborn? Now you can only hide under a black robe, and you see the light, and you are the same as me. Gong Yi's head waved his hand without turning back, and disappeared under the afterglow of the setting sun. He is wearing a black robe. But that doesn't mean he can't see people. He can still walk under the light, but Danzo, who can only curl up in the dark, is not a traveler at all. If Danzo wants to see the light, he has to choose the right time. As for Gongyi, he can decide for himself, and he will see the light in time. As for cooperation, let's talk about it later. At least the dominance of cooperation should not be dominated by Danzo. The battle between Iwagakure village and Kurigakure village, from the very beginning, the balance of victory has been tilted towards Iwagakure village. 4 months, just 4 months. The village of Iwagakure forced the village of Kurigakure to go out to battle. This is a month faster than the 5-month stalemate between Konoha and Sunagakure. The front is about to start, and it is said that the 3rd generation of Mizukage has dragged his body seriously and rushed to the front. The war between shinobi villages, once forced to the front line of the village's shadow, basically belongs to the critical moment of survival. Sarutobi Hiruzen was not on the front lines when Konoha dealt with Sunagakure. As long as you can't make it to the front line, it means that the situation is still in master. But once the shadow is forced to the front line, if the battle is defeated, then the village will have no ability to resist the follow-up pursuit. This battle touched the hearts of countless people. Even more than the battle between Konoha and Sunagakure, it attracts more attention. Because this is the head-to-head confrontation between the 2 cage-level powerhouses for more than 10 years after World War II, and the key battle to establish the village's luck. Everyone is paying attention, only there is Gongyi no. In this column, in the quiet underground laboratory, there is a sound of gurgling bubbles. In the laboratory, there is also a prison made of hard steel, and there are 7 or 8 ninjas who have been tapped to control the flow of chakra. These ninjas are all provided by Orochimaru, and their origins are complicated. There are Sunagakure villages, Iwagakure villages, and even missing nin in Kurigakure. Gongyi has long stopped experimenting in his own home, but has opened a secret laboratory several kilometers away from the palace. Looking at the petri dish that was bubbling in front of him, Gongyi carefully took out a portion. I once proposed 3 solutions to Orochimaru to solve the phagocytosis of Hashirama cells, and inhibitory agents were one of them. Now this is the 7th generation inhibitory agent. If it still doesn't work, I can temporarily give up this path. Portion of Hashirama cells into the body of a ninja, and then feed him a green inhibitory potion. Gongyi watched carefully. Soon, he noticed something different. The phagocytosis of Hashirama cells is really inhibited. This experimental body did not deteriorate in the first place, but was trying to fuse with Hashirama cells. It seems that there is a drama, and I will pay attention to this experimental body in 2 days. Gongyi locked the subject alone, ready for follow-up observation. Today's Gongyi doesn't show up much in the village anymore. No one would wonder about this, because everyone knew that Gongyi was severely injured and even his face was disfigured. In view of his achievements over the years, plus the battle with Mizukage, the village did not assign him a task. Sy Gongyi has a lot of time for experimental research without even arousing any suspicion. His experimental materials and subjects were all provided by Orochimaru, and each time they were brought from the ground by psychic beasts. It can be said that the confidentiality work is very well done. 2 days later, Gongyi came to the laboratory again along the underground passage opened by the psychic snake. Looking at his own experimental subjects, his brows gradually wrinkled. The phagocytosis of Hashirama cells is inhibited, but the fusion speed is extremely slow. And after fusion, the 320 properties of Hashirama cells also seem to have dissipated a lot. Could it be that the inhibitory agent suppresses phagocytosis and also suppresses Hashirama cell activity? Once integrated with the ninja, although it can achieve a lot of effects, it is far from being comparable to the perfect Hashirama body. Gongyi regretfully let go the subject. He found that the road seemed to come to an end. It is necessary to suppress Hashirama cells, but also to fully utilize the powerful characteristics of Hashirama cells, even enough to use Mokuden, wood-style ninjutsu. Only suppressing drugs is not enough. Little disappointed, but not too disappointed. Gangyi has long been used to this situation. When studying Kekkei Genkai, he experienced more failures than he has now. At that time, he never gave up. And this first path is not a failure. If it is used to train ordinary strong men, it can still be used. Although I can't let ninja use Mokuten wood style, it doesn't have such strong healing ability, but even the suppressed Hashirama cells are stronger than ordinary people's and can extract more chakra. However, this is not what Gangyi is after. What Gangyi wanted was a perfect body, comparable to Senju Hashirama's body, enough to allow himself to use Jin-dun unscrupulously. In this case, the research on the inhibitory agent has been carried out here, and it will be put on hold for the time being. Next, I have to try to go the second way. As for Article 3, Gangyi narrowed his eyes slowly. The National Day code word is still a bit lonely after all. Thank you all for your tips, flowers, reviews and the best subscription support. Tomorrow, it will still be updated. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read, collect, push the latest chapter Baidu search 99 Playmates find 99 Novel Network. Chapter 148. Kurigakure, Defeat. He suggested 3 ways to Orochimaru that day. Suppression is one of them, and it has now been proven to work, but it is not perfect. Orochimaru gave up, and Gangyi was ready to give up. And the other 2 ways, 2. If a small amount of low-frequency intake of this cell, and then use a special ninjutsu or secret art, to fuse it. It may take a long time to fuse it, or even regenerate itself. 3. If someone's body, cell characteristics, can be stronger than this kind of cell, then he can completely suppress his phagocytic ability. Even antiphagocytosis of such cells, retaining its cellular characteristics. Obviously, the 3rd way is something I can't take. If my cells are already powerful enough to rival Hashirama cells, or even surpass him, then I don't need to stay here at all to study the experiment. But there should be someone who has already taken the 3rd way. Gangyi squinted, thinking of that old guy Uchiha Madara. This opponent who has fought with Senju Hashirama all his life, his physical strength, although not as strong as Hashirama, is definitely not far behind. And he himself is the reincarnation of Indra, the same as the reincarnation of Asura of Senju Hashirama. Just like water and fire, they repel each other, but they can merge in a limited way. Uchiha Madara can walk through the 3rd way, no problem at all. Gangyi thought, if he can train his body to the level of opening the 8th door of death, and perhaps a 3rd way. This is an existence that is stronger than Ashura, Indra, and not weaker than 6 paths sage energy level. After all, Emperor Guy almost killed Madara in 6 paths mode. Therefore, it is reasonable to speculate that the cell strength of the 8th gate is higher than that of Hashirama cells, and it is completely capable of antiphagocytosis. It's just time. Gangyi shook his head, and it was not because Hashirama cells were implanted that he couldn't practice the 8 inner gates. As long as one can succeed on the 2nd path, the practice of the 8 inner gates can even gain some benefits. When the Hashirama physique and the 8th door physique are used to open the 8 inner gates in the future, Gangyi feels that he can really kill Uchiha Madara in 6 paths mode, and even kill Otsutsuki Kagaya. It's just the premise of all this. It is I who can really successfully implant Hashirama cells. Gangyi took a deep breath and shifted his research focus to the 2nd path. Transplantation of Hashirama cells is generally divided into 3 paths: inhibition, fusion, and phagocytosis. Suppression is not desirable, and swallowing requirements are too high, then it is the 2nd fusion road. And this, I just have an idea. Gangyi returned home, entered his first laboratory, and saw the horn cultivated in the nutrient solution, the heart. That contained the characteristics of the earth resentment mystery art have been extracted, and with the cultivation of all kinds of precious materials, they have increased a lot. It was originally used to study Kekkei Genkai, but in the end it was discovered that the way was wrong. And now, it can come in handy again. According to previous experimental records, the secret technique of resentment should actually belong to a variant of Yangdu ninjutsu. Stimulates human cells, binds chakra, and releases black tentacles. Gives the black tentacles the effects of stripping, merging, plundering, and stitching. Gong Yi slowly recalled the previous experimental records, and finally focused his attention on the feature of the fusion of earth and resentment. Take out a portion of earth's resentment cells and absorb them into the body. Under the urging of chakra, this cell is a black tentacle quickly stretched out. Gong Yi pursed his lips and transplanted a portion of Hashirama cells into his body. The black tentacles quickly wound up. But a strange scene appeared. The black tentacles, which once seemed extremely powerful, were completely defeated by Hashirama cells and were quickly engulfed by Hashirama cells. Not only that, after swallowing and playing with black tentacles, Hashirama cells immediately began to engulf the surrounding area. The Gong Yi cell. Gong Yi frowned, and the chakra scalpel cut out the Hashirama cells directly. The light of rejuvenation blooms, and a small wound is restored to its original state with just one breath. Can't you? Zhao, he once claimed to have fought with the first generation, but now he has a grudge, but he can't even fuse Hashirama cells. Gong Yi suddenly tilted his head. Throwing a shuriken at the original Hokage from 800 meters away, and then running away, it seems to have been a battle. Of course, this is a bad guess, but it is also a corner, the gap between the original and the original. Gong Yi thought for a while, and suddenly his eyes lit up. He hurriedly walked over to the culture tank of Dikyu, took out 10 parts of Dikyu cells, and implanted them into his body. Chakra catalyzed, a thick black tentacle began to dance with great vitality. At this time, Gong Yi transplanted another portion of Hashirama cells into the. Soon, the black tentacles wrapped the Hashirama cells and began to slowly fuse into Gong Yi's body. It's slow, but it's still going. And this fusion doesn't strip away any of the properties of Hashirama cells, no matter what. Is high-intensity cell activity or strong resilience, they have all been preserved. Even Gong Yi can catalyze a little Mokuden, wood-style chakra from the fused Hashirama cells. Haha, sure enough. In a one-on-one situation, Earth Grievance is completely unable to fuse Hashirama cells. But 10-to-10-1, there is a fusion effect. As long as I have enough terrestrial cells, enough Hashirama cells. 8 years at the most, no, 5 years at the most, and I can have a body that is perfect and strong, even stronger than Senju Hashirama. In the laboratory, the young man's laughter was hearty and cheerful. Intense as the Kekkei Genkei ever created, but it also makes people feel that there is another village in the dark. Kill. Rush over. Come here, come with me to protect Mizukage-sama. Mizukage-sama is dangerous. At the junction of the earth and the ocean, countless ninjas fought fiercely. Doden, earth-style, Sweden, water-style, ninjutsu, emerge in an endless stream, all kinds of brilliance bloom, and flesh and blood are flying everywhere. Howling, roaring with excitement. The sky-shattering voice, the clamor of the dust, shot straight into the sky. This battle, Kurigakure threw a total of 8,000 ninjas into the army, which can be said to be all out. They are also in the country of water, they are fighting at home, they have the advantage of the sea, they can mobilize the boundless seawater, and they can use the Sweden water style. However, with such a huge advantage, they are losing ground on the frontal battlefield. In the village of Iwagakure, a total of 15,000 ninja troops have been invested, which can be called terrifying. There is even a specially planned blasting force, consisting of led by a Kekkei Genkei ninja named Hunter. The Kurigakure ninjas are defeated. Not only that, under the leadership of Tsuchikage's son Lois, with an absolute superiority in force, they smashed Kurigakure's ninja army head-on. Both sides there are 2 of Onoki's apprentices, Kitu and Kuratsuchi, who led the team to attack. In Kurigakure village, there are not many strong people who can stand up, and only Karatake Yagura can resist the pressure. However, Terumi Mei, a strong man of the new generation, was held back by another strong man from Iwagakure village. This critical moment, Tsujido Sukari, the third generation of Mizukage who was seriously injured and not healed, couldn't sit still. Rushed out and used Futon, vapor-style, ninjutsu to clear a large area of the battlefield. But just when he wanted to expand his victory, an old man quickly flew above him. Without a second word, without even saying hello, all kinds of Doton, earth-style, ninjutsu were directly smashed down. Onoki was born in the Sengoku era. When he was young, he had seen the powerful strength of Uchiha Madara's generation. At that time he was still a teenager, only 12 or 13 years old, and was completely unable to resist Uchiha Madara. By the time Iwagakure village was established and the First Ninja War was over, he had become a well-known and powerful man. Later, the second generation of Tsuchikage and the second generation of Mizukage perished together. Although he was old, but there was no suitable Tsuchikage candidate in the village, he took the position of the third generation of Tsuchikage. At that time, he had great strength, and a unprecipitated ambition. He didn't have any idea of war, he only had one idea, to increase the strength of the village. Now, after more than 10 years, the village of Iwagakure, which has never had any war, has reached its peak with the full support of daimyo of the Land of Earth. Onoki's ambition is no longer deliberately suppressed. He needs war. He needs power. He wants to make Iwagakure village stand above the ninja world. And the first target of power is Kurigakure village, the third generation of Mizukage. With his hands in front of him, Onoki stares coldly Tsujido Sukari below. Jinten particle style, split detachment of the primitive world technique. Tsuji Tanyuki looked up at the sky, under the dazzling white light, even Onoki's body could not be seen clearly. He grinned in despair, as if grinning miserably. With his serious injury and unhealed state, he can't escape this powerful ninjutsu. Even in his prime, he was extremely afraid of the old guy Onoki. But let him sit still, he will never agree. Futon, vapor style, as a blast. Endless sea water is flying upside down from behind him, hanging in the sky. Raised his hands, and the monstrous flames rushed into the sea. This time, he went all out, leaving no room, not a drop of chakra left on his body. The target he attacked was not Onoki, but the army of Iwagakure village. It doesn't matter if you accidentally injure a Kurigakure ninja, anyway. The number of enemies on the battlefield is the largest. After the ninjutsu was ready, Tsujido Yuli turned his head and roared, ignoring the white light that had already rushed in front of him. Yagura, you for the next generation of Mizukage, led all ninjas, withdraw. The words fell, two roars between heaven and earth sounded one after the other. Boom, boom. After the wind dissipated, Lois came to Onoki with an ugly face. Mizukage's last ninjutsu killed us more than 1,000 ninjas. Onoki said indifferently. He worked hard, it is not surprising how many people he took away. After all, it is also Mizukage. You go to count the casualties of this battle, and then prepare for the next war. It's no surprise that Lois has the next war for the strength of Iwagakure village. He knows better than anyone else, even if there is another war, or even 2 wars, he can withstand it. He was just curious, who to hit. Onoki smiled and looked eastward, then looked at the center of the continent. Konoha Kumogakure. Chapter 149. The third condition. The battle between Iwagakure and Kurigakure. After 4 months, a big battle broke out. Then Iwagakure spent 3 months chasing and killing the Kurigakure ninja until the hinterland of the country of water. If the village of Kurigakure is destroyed, the land of water will also be divided among other countries. The daimyo of the land of water approached the daimyo of the land of upper earth, willing to surrender, and asked for a peace treaty. To this end, the land of water will pay huge sums of money, and half of the tasks of the land of water will be assigned to the village of Iwagakure, and even several small islands rich in products on the border of the land of water will be ceded. I have to say that the compensation for this war is even worse than the one Sunagakure lost to Konoha. The main reason is that Iwagakure Village's play was too ruthless, giving people the feeling of wanting to completely destroy Kurigakure Village. Under the temptation of this huge profit, the daimyo of the Land of the Earth issued an order to stop the war among the ninjas in the village of Iwagakure. Although Onoki was unwilling, he agreed. If it hadn't been for the strong support of the land over the years, he would not have achieved such a brilliant record. Moreover, after chasing and killing the hinterland of the Land of Water, the terrain environment is very complicated. Kurigakure ninjas are led by a new generation of Mizukage Yagura. With the help of complex terrain environment, they disperse the ninja army, fight in small groups, and ambush and attack the ninjas in Iwagakure Village. In this battle, the casualty rate is even higher than in the Armageddon. Onoki thought very clearly that Li Wei's goal had been achieved, so next, the second step of the plan could be carried out. Target: Sunagakure Village. Yes, not Konoha, nor Kumogakure, but Sunagakure Village, which has only been defeated for less than 2 years. Konoha Hokage Building. 4. Iwagakure Village and Kurigakure Village. This 320 battle, although it has been expected, but the 3 generations of Hokage are still shocked. Smoking a cigarette, he sighed, "It's too fast. It's too fast." Moreover, the strength of Iwagakure Village is stronger than expected. The 2 advisors sitting across from him also looked at each other at this time, and felt incredible about the information sent back. Kaharu Udatane said, "The village of Iwagakure has invested 15,000, and the ninjas are on the front line." Homura Mitokado snorted coldly, "After investing so much, there must be a large number of ninjas left in the village." To preliminary estimates, the number of ninjas in Iwagakure Village is at least 20,000. Kaharu Udatane looked at his comrade, "Kenyon, how many ninjas are there in our Konoha who can go to battle?" Homura Mitokado braced his glasses. "I did statistics after playing with Sunagakure before. There are still 28,000 registered ninjas, but there are only about 23,000 who can enter the battlefield. Not all ninjas can go to battle. There are some ninjas who have mastered more powerful life support skills, help village construction, or arrange related business in other countries to earn money. After all, a village is so big that it must make money to support so many people. Usually when there is no war, even Jonin has to be sent out to perform tasks and earn commissions, as you can imagine." Hearing his answer, Kaharu Udatane breathed a sigh of relief. "Our strength is not weaker than Iwagakure Village. Onoki should not dare to do anything to us." Just then, a man on crutches walked in. Seeing him, Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, but said nothing. "Danzo, here you are." Shimura Danzo nodded at the 3 of them, and said with a hoarse laugh, "I have a good news from my roots, are you interested in hearing it?" "What news?" "After the victory of Iwagakure Village, there are signs of war again, and their next target, Sunagakure Village." Came out, the 3 of Hiruzen swarmed. "What? Onoki is not satisfied, he has to fight. He's trying to save Iwagakure Village." "It's okay, it's Sunagakure Village." "Hiruzen, Sunagakure Village and we concluded a deal, you said, is there any need to help them?" Sarutobi Hiruzen did not reply, but Shimura Danzo snorted coldly. "What help? It's our Konoha's kindness that we didn't pursue the victory and destroy the Sunagakure Village before, and also help them. According to my idea, we should seize the right time and participate in this war, and we must not let the Iwagakure Village benefit alone." Although Iwagakure Village had only fought 1 battle, no one would doubt that they could not defeat Sunagakure Village. Other words, Sunagakure Village will definitely lose. In this case, Shimura Danzo, of course, wants to help the village to seek some benefits and take revenge on Sunagakure Village by the way. Sarutobi Hiruzen exhaled a puff of smoke and shook his head. "This battle, we can just wait and see, we don't have to participate. Anyway, they don't care. Win or lose, it's good for us at Konoha, just watch it." Hokage said so, the 2 consultants naturally have no opinion. Danzo snorted coldly, glared at Sandai in dissatisfaction, and then walked away. Hiruzen, you are old. ... Gong Yi also got the news about the resumption of the war in Iwagakure village in half a month. It was sent by the Hyuga clan. Now Gong Yi is recovering from injury, but Hyuga Hiyashi is a smart guy. Although Gong Yi was injured, his medical ninjutsu could still inherit Tsunade's status, so he chose to continue to befriend Gong Yi. After all, there is also a relationship between the two, Hyuga Chizong, and it is easy to make friends. After getting this news, Gong Yi was a little surprised, even puzzled. Has the plot started to change? In the original book, Iwagakure was fighting with Konoha, and after the fight, he went to provoke Kumogakure. Why did he pick the soft persimmon, Sunagakure village? He was puzzled, but he was not as relaxed as the three generations, but rather cautious. Sudden change in the plot is definitely not a good thing, at least not for him. And that old guy Onoki, deep in his mind, the devil knows what he's thinking. Of course, the top priority right now, Gong Yi doesn't bother to care about things on the battlefield, he is trying his best to fuse Hashirama cells and transform his body. In his view, the so-called ninja army can indeed play a decisive role in conventional warfare. But as long as it is strong enough, the ninja army is a joke. 3 generations of Reikage can fight against 10,000, and die of exhaustion. Senju Hashirama alone is an army, and as long as he is around, no one dares to attack Konoha. Behind Uchiha Madara, the 5 shadows were hanged to suppress the ninja coalition. Now Gong Yi's mentality has slowly changed. It is no longer to become stronger in order to survive, but to think about problems in the posture of a superior. On this day, he took time out to teach Aburame Kaiwei in the yard. It was the first disciple he accepted. Might Guy was only half of it, and most of the time he was called the captain, not the teacher. Kaiwei, your chakra control ability is quite good. As long as your chakra level increases a little, I will teach you how to master sage art. Aburame Kaiwei got the praise from Gong Yi and couldn't help laughing happily. If she learns to master sage art, then she can be considered an advanced medical ninja. As long as you perform a few more tasks and have enough experience, you may be able to participate in the Jonin assessment. Gong Yi pointed out some problems in her cultivation, and let her go home when it was dark. But Aburame Kaiwei left, but Gong Yi didn't close the door. Standing in the courtyard, Gong Yi said without turning back, "Come in, shrink your head and tail, this is not the style of your Uchiha family." A shady man walked in, not Fugaku, but Gong Yi's old acquaintance, Uchiha Chinfeng. Fugaku has basically been at odds since his last defeat to Gong Yi. Gong Yi has a face-to-face relationship. When he remembered that incident, he was irritated. Uchiha Chinfeng looked at Gong Yi under the black robe with fear, and Yuhi's color 3 Tomo Sharingan turned, faintly feeling very dangerous. It seems that Gong Yi is not seriously injured as rumored, or maybe his master has something. Even if he is seriously injured, he can still threaten himself. Gong Yi turned back suddenly and looked at him coldly. "Didn't Fugaku tell you, don't look at me with Sharingan?" Uchiha Chinfeng wanted to get angry, but when he thought of Gong Yi's record and Fugaku's advice before he came out, he had to suppress his anger and closed Sharingan. "Tell me, what's the matter?" Gong Yi asked lazily, as if the cold words before were not what he said. Uchiha Chikas took a deep breath. "When will you give me Mangekyo Sharingan's eye-opening method?" "Please pay attention to your wording, I promised to teach Fugaku, not you." Gong Yi glanced at him, then said with a half-smile, "And with your aptitude, you can't open your eyes." "You." Gong Yi patted him on the shoulder, "Go back. If you want me to tell you how to open your eyes, you should go back and ask Fugaku, when will he fulfill the 3rd condition he promised me?" Uchiha Chinfeng was stunned, and subconsciously asked, "The 3rd condition?" Seeing his appearance, Gong Yi didn't. "You laughed. It seems that Fugaku has also concealed a lot of things from the clan. Phailu reminds you, 3 things to read and collect, and push the latest chapter. Baidu search 99 playmates to find 99 novels and LT, otherwise block collection IP. Chapter 150, Ayame, Kiss. That's what he said. Uchiha Fugaku looked at his cousin, Uchiha Chikaze calmly. As far as the clan is concerned, they are about the same age, grew up together, and have very similar ideas, so Fugaku trusts Chinfeng quite a bit. Chinfeng also trusts him, otherwise, he would not have given such matters to Fugaku before. Yes, that's what he said. Chinfeng tentatively said, didn't he only agree to 2 conditions? Why is there a third one? Fugaku frowned, the third condition, which he never mentioned to his clan. After all, a pair of 3 Tomo Sharingan is also precious to the family. And the most important thing is that once it is handed over, it is a trampling on Uchiha's glory. No high level will agree to this. Fugaku secretly agreed, and even sent a lot of Kaden, fire-style, ninjutsu scrolls, just think steady Gong Yi in the dark. The third condition has been delayed again and again, but he wants to use his own efforts to open Mangekyo. But no matter how hard you try, it doesn't work. Even asked someone to test the method that demonic illusion said in Gong Yi's pretense at the time. Mental strength and physical energy are fused in a ratio of 5:2, plus 3 points and 3 natural energy, bombarding the eyeballs. In his opinion, Gong Yi is immune to demonic illusion, which is a bit incredible. He even believed that Gong Yi was indeed caught in demonic illusion, and also told how to open Mangekyo, but later he solved demonic illusion. So he looking for people in the clan who had a bad relationship with him and were hostile, and tried this method. Let the person know by inadvertently revealing the news. Then, within 2 months, he learned the news of the man's death, his brain exploded, and his eyeballs exploded beyond recognition. Now it seems that I really have to continue trading with Gong Yi. However, I have to deal with my cousin first. He shook his head expressionlessly. The third condition has nothing to do with you. It's similar to the second condition, and it's also about me. Oh. Uchiha Chinfeng glanced at him suspiciously, but stopped asking. Fugaku, I met Gong Yi today and suddenly found something. What? Isn't it all rumored that Gong Yi is seriously injured and will take years to recover? But why do I feel that he still gives me a great sense of danger? Wasn't he seriously injured? Uchiha Fugaku shook his head flatly. This is impossible. Under the siege of countless strongmen in the village of Kurigakure, and 3 generations of Mizukage, how could he not be seriously injured? To the 3 generations of Mizukage, both of them are silent. They also knew about the war between Iwagakure and Kurigakure villages. The 3 generations of Mizukage who were seriously injured, took away 1,000 ninjas with 1 death blow. To say that he is not strong is a joke. Fugaku thought for a while, and said uncertainly, it is said that Gong Yi used a golden ninjutsu in Kurigakure village, which is so powerful that it is not even under the Kekkei Genkei Fudan, vapor style. If he can still use that kind of ninjutsu now, he will give you a sense of danger, which is normal. Uchiha Chinfeng suddenly realized, if so, it all makes sense. Just, golden ninjutsu is not under Kekkei Genkei. We Uchiha clan have suppressed countless blood ninjas. Our Sharingan is also Kekkei Genkei. Why is it not as powerful as imagined? Chinfeng muttered to himself, very unwilling. Uchiha Fugaku blinked, but his heart kept silent. Mangekyo. Sharingan is able to suppress countless Kekkei Genkei. It must be a qualitative leap after Mangekyo. Konoha 46 in the second half of the year. This half year seems to be extraordinarily calm. Even just after the war, the vague Iwagakure village stopped after sending 3,000 ninjas, Chenjun, to the border between the country of wind and the country of soil. The outside world, many people believe that Iwagakure village is afraid that after a war, other ninja villages will take advantage of the situation, so they made a tough stance. After all, Iwagakure village also needs time to digest the fruits of war and turn them into strength. But that's fine, except A few careerists, most people still want peace. Gang Yi was wearing a large black robe with a hat on his head, covering himself tightly. Walking on the streets of the village, he looked around with great interest. Math, he also hasn't gone out for 2 months, just like an otaku. This time he went out, not to meet anyone, it was just that some of the experimental equipment he studied had a problem, and he needed to buy a new batch. Cultivating terrestrial resentment cells also requires a lot of precious medicinal materials. So he had to make a trip to the Kingdom of Fire. No one is curious about his purchase of medicinal materials. Because everyone knows that Gang Yi is a medical ninja, and getting injured again, it is normal to buy some medicinal materials to make medicines. Walking in the village, Gang Yi's busy mind has been quiet a lot. Occasionally he would think about the progress of his Hashirama cell transplantation, but he could only shake his head. The transplantation of Hashirama cells is limited by the number of terrestrial cells, which is slow and expensive. Up to now, the progress of his transplantation has only completed 2% of his entire body. Well, after a few months, it was only 2%. Very slow, but Gang Yi doesn't hurry. It is now in the external fusion stage. In his opinion, once the transplant progress exceeds 50%, it may be possible to enter the active fusion stage. At that time, the body does not reject Hashirama cells either. Time will speed up several times. When passing by Ichiraku Ramen Restaurant, Gang Yi paused and walked in. As popular now as it was 2 years ago, when Ichiraku Ramen Restaurant just opened. Now the reputation of Ichiraku Ramen Restaurant has also spread. The taste is good, the price is reasonable, and there are many people who come to eat every day. When Gang Yi walked in, there was a moment of silence in the noodle shop, but soon, villagers and ninjas stood up to say hello to him. Hello, Mr. Gang Yi. Is Lord Gang Yi coming to eat noodles? Quote. How is Master Gang Yi, has he recovered? Looking at this scene, Gang Yi smiled. He is now wearing black clothes, trench coats, robes or other things, which are already very familiar in the village. Seeing him, although everyone knew that Gang Yi's face was disfigured, the villagers also respected him from the bottom of their hearts. A few simple greetings, Gang Yi came to the bar. Uncle, come to a bowl of ramen. Well, take it away. The owner of the ramen restaurant is a middle-aged man named Handa. Seeing Gang Yi, he nodded with a smile. While making ramen, he asked, why don't you sit down and eat here? Before you came from the hospital, you would always sit here and eat before leaving. Gang Yi smiled, isn't that before? You see, if I sit here and everyone looks at me while eating, it won't be very comfortable. He slapped his hand and stopped talking. The small door of the bar suddenly moved, and a chubby, very cute little girl ran out. Hey Ayame, don't run around, come back. His hands were stunned for a moment, and he quickly went out to say hello. Seeing this, Gang Yi immediately hugged the little girl who hit his leg. Ayame, nice name. The little girl was only 2 or 3 years old, and she couldn't walk easily. After being picked up by Gang Yi, she giggled. He even fiddled with that chubby little hand, Gang Yi's collar. Gang Yi's collar was so high that it covered almost half of his face. A little girl came to fiddle, and Gang Yi didn't stop him. Ayame looked away and laughed even more cheerfully, and even wanted to come over and kiss Gang Yi. The villagers in the back couldn't help but sigh when they saw this scene. Lord Gang Yi is really a very good person. Friendly, he was born and died for the sake of the village, and for the sake of his subordinates, he entered the village of Kurigakure. Now even the kids love him. It's just a pity, how could such a good young man be disfigured? Heard that Lord Gang Yi is highly skilled in medical ninjutsu, but I don't know if he can cure it by himself. After playing with Ayame for a while, covering up his collar, Gang Yi left with the ramen. After he left, a group of boys and girls also ran in. One of the girls stood at the door in a trance, looking at Gang Yi's back. The others were stunned for a moment, then looked over, and fell silent. They were here today to celebrate their companions, upgrade to Chunin, and their originally happy mood became complicated after seeing the blackback. That's Gong Yi. Well, Yuhi, you read that right. It should be him. Kurenai Yuhi pursed his lips, not knowing what to say, just stared blankly at the back of Gong Yi walking further and further away. Others have complicated hearts, and the classmates who used to be in a grade are far ahead of them. Great things for Konoha, end the Sunagakure War, and even fight the shadow of a village. Compared to Gong Yi, they are just upgrading Chunin now. It's ridiculous to be so excited. As long as Kurenai Yuhi lowered his head, he whispered in a dim voice, he looks so lonely. Chapter 151. 3 Ninja Villages and 2 Battlefields. Is Gong Yi lonely? Maybe even Gong Yi himself sometimes feels lonely. Only Might Guy and Aburame Kaiwei occasionally finish their mission and come back to see him. The yard will be more lively. Most of the time, it is deserted. But Gong Yi never complained. He is not a hypocritical person. Even when Hyuga Chizong passed away, he never shed a tear. In his opinion, the road of the strong is always lonely. Not enough. Loneliness, it only means that you are not strong enough. The reason is very simple. The strong grow up slowly from the weak, but he grows faster than the average person, so naturally others can't keep up with him. The so-called loneliness arises spontaneously. Gong Yi occasionally thinks about the old man underground, namely Uchiha Madara. Is he lonely? Should he be more lonely than himself? 3220. After all, there is no one to talk to, and I can't even go out to relax. Gong Yi really wanted to meet him and talk to him about the future of the ninja world and his views on life. It's just a pity that Gong Yi couldn't find Uchiha Madara's hiding place. With the implantation of Hashirama cells, the body begins to change, and Gong Yi is looking forward to the future more and more. He longed for more powerhouses, even the kind that destroyed the world and turned mountains and seas. As he wished, the time for the emergence of a strong man came in the spring of Konoha 47. War starts again. Participating parties. Iwagakure, Sunagakure, Konoha. What? Sarutobi Hiruzen slapped the table. His beard and hair were stretched out, and the shock on his face could not be concealed. The intelligence ninja in front of him shivered. How many years had he not seen Lord Hokage so angry? 2 advisors hurried in, and even Danzo walked in after him. Throwing away the intelligence ninja, the 4 of them were silent for a long time. Danzo was the first to speak out, directly sarcastic. Hiruzen, you are really old. I have said long ago that the ambitions of the wolves in Sunagakure village will either be destroyed or they will be ruined, and I dare not have any ideas. Now, you can see it. Sunagakure village and Iwagakure village joined forces to attack Konoha. When Gong Yi got back the information on Sasori of the Red Sand, I suggested to spread that news and destroy Sunagakure village. You are kind, and now they are sending troops again. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath, closed his eyes, opened them. Danzo, I don't want to argue with you today, tell me how to deal with it. Humph. Danzo snorted coldly, sarcastically. When the 2 big ninja villages join forces, even the mighty Konoha will have ice. One careless, that is the village broke 5, the crowd. Homura Mitokado said. In the village of Iwagakure, Onoki is expected to go to the front again, just like the expedition of the village of Kurigakure. So on our side, Hiruzen, you might be on the front lines too. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. If the other party dispatched the soil, this Hokage must also go. It is not a king to a king, a general, but an army with the shadow of the village, and the morale is different. As long as the ninja thinks, there is a Tsuchikage on the enemy's side, and there is nothing on our side, who would dare to fight with all their strength. What about Sunagakure? Homura Mitokado suggested. What about Minato? This guy is getting better and stronger now, and he has the ability to stand on his own. Kaharu Udatane disagreed. Minato is too young to hold down the people below. I think it's better to let Orochimaru go. He has played against Tsunagakure before and has experience. Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to agree, but Sashimura Danzo's expression gloomy beside him. He still had to ask himself the opinion of this old friend. After all, some suggestions that Danzo said a few years ago were vicious. But if he really did what he said, maybe he wouldn't be what he is now. Danzo, what do you think? Danzo suddenly suggested. As for Jiraiya, let Jiraiya try. He is also a person who has experienced war, and he has been idle in the village for so many years, so he should do something. Speaking of Jiraiya, even Sarutobi Hiruzen hesitated. His own disciple really didn't do much in these years, but can he command a large army to fight? Homura Mitokado couldn't help nodding. Jiraiya is really too lazy. He usually leaves things to his disciple Minato to do. He should be allowed to contribute. Kaharu Udatane shook his head. I guess I have to ask Orochimaru and Jiraiya for their opinions. If Orochimaru agrees, I think Orochimaru is better. Okay, then I'll ask Orochimaru tomorrow. Leaving the Hokage building, Danzo's face was horribly gloomy. He didn't know if Konoha could win the war. But he knew that Orochimaru was already very famous in the village and had enough credit for it. If he is allowed to win this war again, then next, he can succeed Hokage smoothly. This must be Sarutobi Hiruzen's idea. Danzo squeezed the crutches hard. He has already flinched once, and this time he must not let the position of Hokage slip away from his own hands. On the same night, a secret report was sent arrive at Sarutobi Hiruzen's desk. The next day, Sarutobi Hiruzen saw the secret security, and his face changed greatly. But contrary to some people's expectations, he slowly restrained his emotions and found Orochimaru and Jiraiya. After asking the two for their opinions, Jiraiya said that he can go in a fight, but he finds it troublesome to command the army. Orochimaru flatly refused and asked why, but he didn't say anything. It just makes me think he's tired of war. Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at Orochimaru with inexplicable eyes, and finally gave Jiraiya a death order. Tsunagakure battlefield in the west, he will be the commander. The Iwagakure battlefield in the south, the 3 generations of Hokage will go out in person. When this order was issued, some people were surprised, but some people smiled satisfied. This time Gongyi also received relevant orders. However, it is not a tough task call. The order is very soft, just ask him if he wants to 1. 6. Retake the position of the captain of the medical force. He went to the front with the army if he wanted to, and the medical unit was under his control. If you don't want to, it's okay, just stay at home. And he can choose any battlefield, either Tsunagakure's side or Iwagakure's side. The end, Gongyi chose to go to the battlefield, and it was still on Tsunagakure's side. He actually wanted to see the abilities of Onoki and many strong people in Iwagakure village, but he knew better that only on Tsunagakure village's side, he could play his best. Because of his former subordinates, this time he will also be sent to Tsunagakure village. And one more thing, Jiraiya will also go to the Tsunagakure battlefield. This one, who has studied sage art, has also casually promised to teach Gongyi in ninjutsu before. Sage art is also in the category of ninjutsu. Finally, Gongyi wants to go to some people and things. Feilu reminds you. Reading 3 things to collect. Push the latest chapter. Baidu search 99 playmates. Find 99 novels and LT, otherwise the collection IP will be banned. Chapter 152. The situation is complicated. Gongyi always remembers how the old woman Chio looked at him when he fought with Tsunagakure last time. He even shouted, "Never die," at the end. Such words. Gongyi isn't worried about someone thinking about him, but a strong cage-level person, or a strong cage-level person who is about to get old and has nothing to worry about, is troublesome. Who are dying will burst out with powerful combat power to solve their regrets. For example, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who sealed Orochimaru's hands before his death, For example, the third generation of Mizukage, the temporary counterattack and the final move, took away more than 1,000 people. Gong Yi didn't want to encounter this situation. Army started and arrived 3 days later. Gate of the village was full of villagers who came to see them off. Just different from the previous farewells, this time, the atmosphere is much more solemn. Because everyone knows that Konoha can basically win a war with a ninja village. But with the 2 big ninja villages, no one is optimistic enough. This can be seen from the composition of the ninjas participating in the war in the West unit. The students who were in the same class as 29 Gong Yi basically had to go to the battlefield, even if he was a family ninja. The last time was different. Gong Yi was familiar with the same class of students as Kakashi, Obito, and Might Guy. Both Kakashi's parents are dead, Obito is a fringe member of the Uchiha family, and Might Guy is not a family ninja. Only Asuma, who had only been on the battlefield for a few days, was injured once, and Hokage brought him back. And this time, as far as I can see, Shizune, Kurenai Yuhi, Shiranui Genma, Ebisu, Asuma and so on. Even the juniors such as Gangzitai and Kamizuki Izumo who just graduated were sent to the battlefield. Not only that, the 2 giants, the Hyuga family and the Uchiha family, have also sent a large number of people, and there are also many family elites and powerhouses. This battle is a matter of Konoha's life and death, no one can sit still. Jiraiya raised his arms after saying goodbye to the 3 generations of Hokage, and there were 8,000 troops in the west following him and set off. These 8,000 ninja troops will fight against the ninja troops of a village in Sunagakur, and there will be few reinforcements even behind. On the Sunagakur side, although they experienced the last war and suffered heavy casualties, they can make up nearly 10,000 ninjas. But no one complained, because the situation was even more difficult for the troops in Iwagakure village to the south. 3 generations of Hokage set off with 10,000 people. What they had to face was strong morale, and they won the village of Iwagakure and Kurigakure village. The ninja army shuttled through the jungle at a high speed. They had to reach the border within 3 days and arranged put down a secure line of defense. Gong Yi was in the middle of the crowd, his speed was neither fast nor slow, and he fell a lot behind Jiraiya who was at the front. But no one will look down on him, because everyone knows that Gong Yi is in a period of injury. At this juncture, his willingness to stand up and lead the medical team is already very touching. After reaching the front line, Gong Yi found Jiraiya while the other ninjas were camping. "You're going to expand the number of medical troops." Jiraiya scratched her head, then turned her gaze to Nara Shikaku. This time, the 3rd generation of Hokage personally commanded the southern troops, and the western side was a little worried about Jiraiya, so he let Shikaku, who performed well in the previous war, assist him. Shikaku frowned, did not directly object, but said to Gong Yi, "Tell me your reasons." Under the black robe, Gong Yi said calmly, "We will use 8,000 ninjas to face a village in Sunagakur. They have suffered enough from our losses before, so this time, they will definitely send more ninjas. Small numbers, we may be at a disadvantage. In this case, the number of medical ninjas can help us minimize losses. Every time we fight, we will kill a few ninjas less than the other side. Only in this way, we will not fight less and less." Nara Shikaku nodded. "Is it still the same as last time, from the major families?" Gong Yi shook his head. "Not only that, the clan ninjas are only part of it. Civilian ninjas, I will also recruit more people." Nara Shikaku thought for a while, then nodded, then looked at Jiraiya. "I think it works, Jiraiya-sama, how about you?" Jiraiya laughed. "If you think you can do it, then do it your way. Command the army and you will do it. If there is a strong man on the opposite side, just leave it to me." That's how things settled. After leaving the camp, Gong Yi first called Huli and asked her to call back the old teammates of the medical team. Then start a new round of selection. In this way, a few days later, the number of new medical troops has expanded from 200 to 200 to 500 to 500. Of course, Gongyi is also paying attention to Sunagaku's developments. He found something very interesting. On Sunagaku's side, the ninja army stopped advancing after arriving at Amankawahara. With the Konoha army, they formed a confrontation. They seem to want to fight and don't want to fight. Gongyi thought so. Nara Shikaku also made such a judgment after observing. Yellow sand is long, and a figure stands on the mountain formed by the accumulation of sand and stones, with a faint gaze. Konoha. Chiyo walked over slowly, looking at this increasingly gloomy man. For some reason, she was a little scared. Obvious that Rasa was the one who supported her. Past, Rasa was also young and vigorous, and I was the biggest character in the world, but after experiencing the Sunagaku defeat and being seriously injured, the person became more and more gloomy. After taking office for 4 generations of Kazekage, Rasa has gradually become extreme, and no one can control him. Why are you here if you don't go down and lead the army? Rasa said without looking back. Is it necessary anyway? I can't fight for the time being. He suddenly asked, why are you coming to the battlefield again? Didn't you agree long ago that after I become Kazekage, you will not interfere with any affairs in the village? Chiyo snorted, hatred in his eyes. As long as it's a war with Konoha, I'll never drop 321s. Even if I go to the battlefield in the name of an individual, I do not command any troops. Rasa shook his head, although I also want to defeat Konoha. This war, we were just brought in by force. Half a year ago, after Iwagakure village defeated Kurigakure, it was ready to fight against Sunagaku. At that time, Sunagaku was frightened. After all, Sunagaku was defeated and his vitality was severely damaged. But then Iwagakure village did not take action after posing, but instead sent people to talk secretly. The result of the negotiation is simple. Sunagaku village and Iwagakure village will attack Konoha together. After victory, the result will be evenly divided. But if Sunagaku village does not attack, Iwagakure village will attack Sunagaku village first. Snoring on the side of the couch. If you want to blame it, you can only blame the country of wind and the country of earth being too close. Rasa agreed to this cooperation after weighing the interests and careful consideration. Among them are the fear of the village of Iwagakure, and a bit of hatred for Konoha, and more importantly, he took the position of Kazekage and took over a mess. Better to fight a war than to govern well. As long as you win, divide up Konoha and Sunagaku village will be able to get out of the predicament. Chiyo didn't want to say more, just asked a crucial question. When to do it? Rasa was silent for a while, and then said leisurely, let's see if that old guy Onoki can do what he said. The battle in the south is the key to deciding the outcome. On our side, we only need to hold back half of Konoha. Ninjas are enough. Chapter 153. The Risk of Sage Art. In the original book, in the Third Ninja War, Konoha had an advantage in the early stage, was corrupt in the middle stage, and was weak in the later stage. Especially in the battle against Iwagakure village, the frontal battlefield is not an opponent at all. The end, it was Namikaze Minato, who single-handedly won the Battle of Shinwu Kunchou and turned the tide of the battle. But even so, Konoha did not win the village of Iwagakure, but the two sides stalemate. It took a year or two to conclude a peace treaty, and the two sides gave up. This battle, Konoha suffered heavy casualties, the third generation Hokage resigned, and Namikaze Minato took over the fourth generation. After the Kyubi Nine-Tails rebellion, Konoha, who had not recovered his strength, was forced by Kumogakure village. Since then, the story of Hyuga Hazashi's suicide to replace Hiyashi happened. If not, how could the dignified Konoha Great Ninja Village be threatened by the Kumogakure village? This time, it is even more dangerous than in the original book. Sunagaku village actually participated in the war. Gongyi frowned, pondered for several days, trying to find out the reason, and only then did he find some clues. Could it be because I found evidence that Sasori of the Red Sand killed 3 generations of Kazekage and ended the war with Sunagaku early? Because Sunagakure was not beaten or maimed, Sunagakure had the spare energy to join the war again. So, it's me who changed the plot and caused the current result. Gong Yi shook his head. No, he did end the last war. It was not him who caused the current situation, but the man who made the decision, the 3 generations of Hokage. Sasori of the Red Sand, intelligence, make good use of it now, he can completely cripple Sunagakure village. How old is he? He is indecisive, not enough. Ruthless. Gong Yi sighed, but didn't interfere, he had a lot of things to do now. This time, he asked Orochimaru for half a year's worth of Hashirama cells because it was convenient for his battlefield research. Orochimaru generously agreed. Not only that, but also gave Gong Yi the address of a laboratory he had previously opened on the front line. Gong Yi took advantage of this time to cultivate new medical ninjas while pretending to recover from his injuries, but in fact he was cultivating terrestrial cells and then transplanting Hashirama cells. Occasionally he would go out and chat with Jiraiya, Nara Shikaku and others to win over the relationship. On this day, Jiraiya, who was bored, was lying on the tree, watching the medical team. There are many female ninjas there, and they are all young girls, which is very enjoyable to watch. This state of being unable to fight again, and unable to retreat, really made him uncomfortable, so he might as well come and see the little girl. Tree, a hoarse laughter sounded. Master Jiraiya, why did you come to my medical team when you have time? Quote. Jiraiya said calmly, well, boring, look at the scenery. Gong Yi smacked his lips, but I heard that you come here every day, I'm afraid it's not to see the scenery. Ah, this, that. Jiraiya rubbed his hands shyly, and then pretended to be vicious and said, you don't stay in the medical unit every now and then, I'm here to supervise your work. Hee hee. Huh, Gong Yi smiled, jumped up the tree and sat down beside Jiraiya. Lord Jiraiya, I don't know about you. You promised me one thing. Jiraiya blinked curiously, is there anything I can do? It seems that you are a noble person who has forgotten things. Said thoughtfully, and then reminded, when I completed a mission a few years ago, the 3 generations of Hokage asked me to choose the mission reward. I once wanted to ask you to be my teacher, but you refused, but said that I could learn a ninjutsu from you in the future. Do you remember? Jiraiya thought for a long time. Never thought of it, but Gong Yi said it with a nose and eyes, and the 3 generations did indeed say that he would accept Gong Yi as a disciple, but he refused. According to his character, it is indeed possible to promise to teach Gong Yi a ninjutsu. He didn't refuse, and immediately said with a smile, I know a lot of ninjutsu for whatever I want to learn. Wonder you know a lot. Gong Yi sneered, and then said sternly, sage art. Jiraiya swayed and almost fell off the tree. Where did you know sage art? Gong Yi chuckled and said, I've been recovering from my injury for almost a year, so I have nothing to do and read a lot of books. I happen to know that there is such a powerful sage art that can enhance the power of ordinary ninjutsu. Then I asked Mr. Tsunade and Orochimaru, and they said that in the village, you are the only one who knows sage art, Jiraiya-sama. So I came to find you. Jiraiya nodded, then shook her head regretfully. Sage art is very difficult to learn, you may not be able to learn it. And most importantly, the only place where you can learn sage art is the 3 Holy Lands. You have to sign the blood contract on the psychic contract scroll that came out of the 3 Holy Lands before you can enter. Having said that, Jiraiya patted his head. I forgot, you and Tsunade have such a good relationship, you can also enter Shikatsu Forest. The 3 Holy Lands, Mount Myoboku, Ryachi Cave, Shikatsu Forest. Gong Yi actually signed the psychic contract of Ryachi Cave, but few people know about it. Jiraiya took it for granted that it was from Shikatsu Forest. Gong Yi didn't go to correct his mistakes, he went to Jiraiya to learn more about sage art rather than learning sage art. After all, in the big ninja world, Jiraiya is the only one who will meet sage art on the bright side. Jiraiya scratched her feet again in distress, but sage art from Shikatsu Forest, I don't know how to tell you. History, only the first-generation Hokage. Sama has learned sage art. Gong Yi nodded. Master Jiraiya, you don't need to teach me how to learn sage art, you just need to tell me the corresponding knowledge and information. Jiraiya thought about it and told Gong Yi everything he knew. So-called sage art must be practiced in the three holy lands. Main reason is that the natural energy of the three holy lands is so huge that people can easily perceive this energy. For sage art to perform, sage art chakra is required. Sage art chakra is a perfect combination of spiritual energy, physical energy, and natural energy. The proportions can never go wrong. In addition to this information, Jiraiya specifically mentioned one point. Natural energy is too large and difficult to manipulate. If the amount of chakra itself is not enough, it is easy to be swallowed by natural energy. The consequences of devouring will be petrified in Mount Myoboku. Because there are slugs in Shikatsu Forest, although they will not die, their spiritual energy will be swept away by natural energy, and they will become vegetative. Hiss. Gong Yi came into contact with a piece of information he never knew, that he failed to practice sage art in Shikatsu Forest, and he became a vegetable. What about Raichi Cave? He asked what he cared about the most. Jiraiya helplessly spread out her hands. I don't know either, because no one has successfully cultivated sage art, so no one has brought out the relevant information. Gong Yi frowned. This was not the correct answer. The risk of failure, for those snakes in Raichi Cave, must know why it has never been revealed. Jiraiya suddenly patted Gong Yi on the shoulder. Young man, you better not learn sage art. I think you have a lot of chakra, but you haven't reached the standard of sage art training. I don't want the village to lose an excellent ninja. Gong Yi smiled without refuting. His current chakra volume is indeed not too much, but it is only now. 2. Just when the wind was calm on the Sunagakur battlefield, there was movement on the Iwagakure battlefield. The battle of ninjas with a scale of more than 10,000 people, after 3 months of contact and testing, broke out in the battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain. In this battle, Konoha lost. Exit the Land of Rain. Recommend a friend's new book, Krypton Gold Invincible. If you like basketball, you can go to Philo to remind you, and LT. Chapter 154. Can't find. How's the loss? Reporting to Lord Hokage, there are countless minor injuries in this battle, and more than 700 ninjas were seriously injured and lost their combat effectiveness. The number of dead ninjas has reached 1,800. Clap. The corner of the table was pinched directly. Sarutobi Hiruzen is dressed in a ninja battle suit. He is only 54 years old now. Although others say that he is old and old, in fact he is only old. At this time, his strength was still at its peak. His face was very ugly, and Konoha lost 2,500 men in the first frontal battle. Was even forced to withdraw from the battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain. So what should we do next if we move the battlefield to the Kingdom of Fire? The loss would be even greater. Kaharu Udatane next to him comforted. It's actually not bad. The loss of Iwagakure village is not as much as we are less. And they dispatched 12,000 ninjas, 2,000 more than us. Under the head-to-head, with this result, it is enough to see that our Konoha ninjas' single strength is superior. The 2 advisors of Konoha village, only Kaharu Udatane took part in this battle. Homura Mitokado has to stay in the village and preside over the overall situation of the village. Hearing his consolation, Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head with a livid face. It's not about fighting with a large army. It depends on the strength of the individual. As long as we continue to collide like this, we will only fight less and less. Hyuga Hiyashi is located below, wearing a snow-white combat uniform, looking heroic. He stood up and said, "We don't have a medical team here. Lord Hokage, do you think 320 asked Princess Tsunade to come over?" Speaking of Tsunade, Sarutobi Hiruzen hesitated. He wasn't sure if Tsunade's hyperphobia had healed. If it's not good, it won't work on the battlefield, but it will hurt morale. Kaharu Udatane also knew about this, and she suggested, why don't we apply for 2,000 reinforcements from Menyon first, and then make plans? Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath. Minato, you're fast, I'll leave this to you. Also, you help me bring a letter to Tsunade. Namikaze Minato nodded in agreement, but he was a little worried. Hokage-sama, over there on the Sunagaku battlefield. As soon as these words came out, everyone else present was a little nervous. If this side of the Iwagakure battlefield is defeated, Sunagaku village will definitely move, taking the opportunity to attack the Jiraiya troops, so that they can't get out. Sarutobi Hiruzen pondered for a moment. It doesn't matter, Jiraiya usually seems to be out of tune, but when it comes to serious matters, he is still measured. We have to trust them, and there is a medical team led by Gong Yi over there, maybe they can last longer than us. After speaking, he waved his hand heavily. This war mainly depends on our side. We must resist the pressure and defeat Iwagakure village. Everyone agreed with a bang, and their minds were once again put on their own battlefield. How could the dignified Konoha ninja village be defeated by the Iwagakure village? 3 months of standing still, 3 months of silent confrontation. The stalemate was completely shattered after the results of the Battle of the Rain Country between Iwagakure village and Konoha. The Sunagaku army, led by Rasa, crossed the Amagawa plain and continued to advance towards the border of the Fire Country. Jiraiya no longer laughs and giggles every day, with a relaxed look on his face, after checking the situation of the troops, without a second word, led the army to greet him. Konoha 8,000 ninja, Sunagaku 10,000 ninja. From the beginning, this war was not fair. But no one will complain, because the most fertile land and the most abundant resources in the Konoha land are coveted all the time. Now others turn covetousness into war. Then they can't back down either. Boom! The army is like rolling waves, hitting together, the sound of slaughtering, rekindling Tianchuanyuan. Rasa stepped on the giant waves of Jinsha, and came on the waves, his eyes were contemptuous. Jiraiya stood on the head of the giant toad, her mouth swung forward. Kaden fire style toad oil fire bomb. The huge flame, with the cooperation of the kerosene spit out by Toad Wenta, formed a sea of fire, rushing forward. Rasa was unafraid, and this time, there was no Namikaze Minato who threatened him on the battlefield. Both hands, the endless golden sand rolled forward, with a terrifying momentum. Jidon magnet style, sand's waves. When the two phases meet, a deafening sound erupts. Haha, 4 generations of Kazekage, not weak. Legend of Sanin, today I want to see and see. The two of them didn't talk nonsense, they hand-sealed their hands and added their hands again. And in the battle range between the two, no ninja dared to step in. That sea of fire, endless sand waves, ordinary ninjas, one-touch death. Looking at this familiar scene, there is no difference except changing Orochimaru to Jiraiya. Gong Yi waved his hand indifferently. Rescue. Medical ninjas began to travel through the battlefield under the cover of their companions, and from time to time they rescued 1 or 2 fallen ninjas. The ninja who regained their fighting power rejoined the battlefield. At 8,000 to 10,000, the ninja's individual combat power has been weakened to the limit by the complex battlefield. To win, you have to rely on the number of people. Gong Yi's eyes swept across the battlefield from time to time. He was looking for the old woman Chiyo, and it was impossible not to show up. If he really doesn't show up, then he has to think about whether he is going to help Jiraiya. Although Jiraiya doesn't need help, and Jiraiya probably doesn't like someone helping him. Just when Gong Yi was looking for Chiyo, who was hidden in the dark, was also looking for Gong Yi. Kill him. Take back the 3 treasure puppets of 10 people from Kinmatsu. However, Chiyo searched for a long time, but did not find Gong Yi. No, didn't he go to the battlefield? Chiyo frowned. She had also heard that Gong Yi and Mizukage fought, and after that, Gong Yi disappeared. According to the intelligence, Gong Yi was seriously injured and had to retreat to recover. This war is a matter of Konoha's survival. Can Gong Yi really sit still? The ninja battle will eventually stop due to the wear and tear of chakra. A day later, the two sides fought a dead end. Under the deployment of the commanding ninja, they each withdrew from Tianchuanyuan to wait for the next war. They all understand that this war will not be determined by a certain victory or defeat. Will be no end to the battle without a few heart-wrenching battles. After Gong Yi returned to the camp, he directed the medical team to treat the wounded who were brought back. He was also busy with his own actions to save some seriously injured people. Now Gong Yi's medical ninjutsu is superb. As long as he is not fatally injured, most of him can be rescued. And his proficiency is very high. Often he saves 10 people 10, and the others only finish 1. While doing things, Gong Yi thought, shouldn't, with the hatred of Chio's son and daughter-in-law being killed by White Fang, she won't let Konoha go. Later, her 3 treasure puppet was taken away by me, and she was even threatened by me with Sasori of the Red Sand. She should hate me to the bone. Information on Sasori of the Red Sand, Gong Yi also discussed with the 3 generations of Hokage and others before this war. Is it going to be released to disturb the interior of Sunagakur village? In the end I didn't think it was necessary. The 4th generation of Kazekage has been in power for a year, and he is in charge of everything in the village. Chio, who used to be very authoritative, because he took the charge of the last defeat and stepped back behind the scenes, he himself is in Sunagakur village, and he has no prestige. News was released, and it had no effect. It is estimated that Chio also saw this point. This time on the battlefield, she did not lead any troops, just in her own name. This is also Rasa regardless. Her reason. Gong Yi stopped his treatment and looked at the ninja who lost his breath with regret. I'm sorry, go in peace, we will avenge you. Shaking his head, he motioned for someone to carry the body away. He is also not a god, and it is impossible for him to save anyone. There are some ninjas who went down the battlefield alive, but they just took a breath. Got to the camp, I was relieved, and no one was saved. Gong Yi looked at his hand covered in the black robe, thoughtful. Maybe because I changed my outfit, she couldn't find me. Funny reason, but most likely true. Gong Yi narrowed his eyes slightly, then next time, I'll see if you come to see me. Chapter 155. Instantly kill Chio, 8th. Will you use these 3 puppets? It's still a little reluctant, but it should do the trick. Wow, I really can't imagine that a mechanical puppet can do this. A Chunin stared obsessively at the 3 puppets in front of him and couldn't put it down. Just a pity, it's not my own. Gong Yi looked at him with a smile, thinking about his plan in his heart. Undoubtedly, Konoha village has the most and strongest ninjutsu, and even puppet technique. There are ninja clubs. It's not very grandmaster, but it's enough. Gong Yi found a Chunin in the camp, and gave him the 3 treasure puppets of nearly 10 people and 10 people. More than half a month, this Chunin could only barely control it, and even the 1% of the 3 treasures puppet could not exert its strength. But enough is enough. Lord Gong Yi, Lord Jiraiya called Jonin for a meeting. Well, I see. Gong Yi nodded and went straight to the command camp. It was already crowded with people. Gong Yi's current reputation is not under Jiraiya at all. Sitting next to Jiraiya is a matter of course. Jiraiya did not speak, but Nara Shikaku spoke. After half a month of repair time, we have slowed down, and Sunagakur must be about the same. The next large-scale war should be coming soon, so let's make some deployments today. Jiraiya, Sama, what do you think about the 4th generation of Kazekage of the enemy? Jiraiya waved his hand. I have roughly figured out his ninjutsu information in the last battle. This time, I will defeat him. Hearing this, everyone in the camp was in high spirits. As long as Kazekage is defeated, the morale of the Sunagakur army will inevitably be affected. Perhaps without waiting for the 3rd war, the enemy can be defeated this time. After the meeting, Gong Yi left slowly. Nara Shikaku thought about it and followed. Gong Yi, how are you recovering from your injury now? Gong Yi looked at him suspiciously. Is there anything I need to do? Nara Shikaku bit Kiba and said, our number is small, and this time, Jiraiya-sama is sure to defeat Kage. So I want to put more people in the front army. Oh, Gong Yi got it. Are many frontal troops, there will naturally be fewer ninjas protecting the medical troops. He smiled. Shikaku-sensei, please arrange it. It's enough for the medical team to have me. Okay, I'll make arrangements. On the Sunagakure battlefield, the second battle is about to be fought, and on the Iwagakure village battlefield, it has already been fought 4 times. It can almost be said that both sides fought a real fire. These 4 times, the first time Konoha was defeated and quit the land of rain. The second time Konoha counterattacked with all his strength, defeating Iwagakure village head-on, and Konoha pushed the front line into the country of rain again. The third time, Iwagakure's army, led by Onoki, especially had an extra blasting force, forcing Konoha to retreat again. As for the fourth time, the two sides played a draw. For the tie was that there were 2,000 reinforcements on the side of the Konoha village, and they rushed in from the side to ensure that the battlefield would not be corrupted. Well, if someone wants to ask the people who are in and out of the country of rain, they feel that the country of rain must be raining heavily, tell others. Woo, I don't want to say anything, I just want to cry that the country of rain is like this, and the country of rivers is like this. Tianchuanyuan has been smashed after several wars, and now the next battle between the two sides is likely to be placed in the hinterland of the country of rivers. The so-called small country, no one will care about their thoughts. Under such circumstances, the second war, the two sides will show their horses, and start again. Boom, 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 together, never stop. As Jiraiya said before the war, he has found a way to deal with Rasa. War started, he turned on sage mode. Squeeze Rasa with a hammer. Gong Yi retracted his gaze and murmured. It's time to start. Not far from him, a Chunin seemed to have received some instructions, took out a seal scroll, and put it in front of him. Boom, 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 3 heavy sounds, 3 icy puppets in white clothes appeared on the battlefield. 3 of the 10 people in Jinsong, 3 Buddhists, Dharma, monks and 3 treasures. Outside the battlefield, an old woman saw this scene, her face changed big change. A roar, he rushed directly into the battlefield and ran over here. Wherever they passed, the chakras were crisscrossed, and the Konoha ninjas fell violently to the ground. Nara Shikaku's face changed suddenly. Didn't Chiyo not participate in this war? Oops, that place is where the medical troops are, without any protection. Just as Nara Shikaku was quickly thinking about countermeasures, a figure in black robes floated onto the head of the white-robed puppet and stood up. The hoarse voice came from afar, as if even the roar of the battlefield could not stop him. Chiyo, today is your day of death. Good boy, so you've been waiting for me. I will kill you today. Chiyo widened his eyes angrily, raised his left hand, and pulled out 5 sharp chakra threads. Gong Yi smiled casually, his right hand lit up with golden light, and in a blink of an eye it turned into a golden palm. Stretched out quickly, and when he could not let go, he held all the 5 chakra threads in his hand, and with the sharpness of the chakra threads, he didn't even pierce his skin. Pull hard. Come here. Chiyo's face brightened, she was worried about how to get past. Gong Yi pulled it like this, using her strength, she flew directly over. In the air, 10 puppets suddenly appeared behind Chiyo. 7 of them were the 10 members of the previous Kinmatsu, and the other 3 were her original best puppets. A collection of white secret skills and dreams. 10 puppets, under the control of Chiyo, appear in different directions and angles, attacking and killing. Among them, the coordination is skillful, and there is no flaw. However, at this moment, Gong Yi only raised his eyebrows, and the 7 golden sects flew out. Ka ka ka. As soon as they touched it, 7 of the 10 puppets disintegrated directly in the air. What? Chiyo was taken aback and didn't expect this scene at all. How did she know that, in order to restrain Chiyo's master-level puppet manipulation, Gong Yi had specially studied the three treasures puppets? Coupled with Sasori of the Red Sand's puppet-making techniques, Gong Yi has completely mastered the weak points of the 10 people of Jinmatsu. With Jin Dun Kunai's sharpness and almost no suspense, the weak links of the 7 remaining Jinsong 10 people were instantly cut off. At this time, Chiyo was already in front of Gong Yi. A 3-meter-long black spear emerged from the sky slowly but quickly, then cut through the sky and stabbed towards Chiyo. Chiyo's face changed greatly, and a Doden Earth-style defensive ninjutsu was released in front of him, and then he turned around and wanted to escape. This person's strength has greatly increased. 10 people in Jinsong have also found their weaknesses. I must go first, and I will kill him next time. But just when Chiyo turned around and wanted to leave the battlefield, the 7 golden lights merged into one in an instant, and a golden long sword shone brightly in the sunlight. Long sword is sharp, with the imposing aura of severing all obstacles. A circle hovered in the air, and in Chiyo's horrified eyes, it passed by. Papa, a human head, staring with unwilling eyes, rolled down the battlefield. All this happened so fast. Nara Shikaku in the distance didn't even react. Figure in black robe beckoned, and the circling golden light long sword broke down into 7 golden kunai, returning to his body like a swallow returning to its nest. Gong Yi turned around and entered the medical unit. And on the battlefield, when someone found out that the old woman who died was Chiyo. The Sunagakure village is in chaos. The 8 chapters and 20,000 words update will be sent. Tomorrow will still be violent update, at least 10,000 words. Filu reminds you. NLT. Otherwise the collection IP will be banned. Chapter 156. Support the battlefield of the country of rain. War. The Konoha camp was calm. It was impossible to retreat, because the Sunagakure village was defeated in the last war, but the retreat was timely and the casualties were not large. Mainly, Chiyo appeared suddenly, but was killed instantly, which gave a big blow to the morale of Sunagakure village. Many ninjas in Sunagakure village were panicking. Especially their Kazekage has been beaten by Jiraiya, one of the legends of Sannin. Sunagakure took the initiative to retreat, and even retreated to the territory of the Land of Wind. Konoha chased after the victory for a while, and Mingjin withdrew his troops. On this day, Gong Yi found Jiraiya and Nara Shikaku. Totally destroy Sunagakure. Jiraiya's eyes widened, hearing Gong Yi's plan, she couldn't believe it. Gong Yi nodded and said, I have recovered a part of my strength now, so I can help you from the side and kill the opponent's Kazekage, 3220. As long as Kazekage is dead, we can drive straight in, chasing the route Sunagakure ninjas all the way into their village. Jiraiya shook his head. Although he liked fighting when he was young, he didn't like war. From the heart, he is actually the disciple who perfectly inherited the will of the teacher Sarutobi Hiruzen. If it wasn't for years of traveling abroad, writing books, and looking for the so-called son of prophecy, he would be a better Hokage than Orochimaru. However, Nara Shikaku was seriously thinking about Gong Yi's proposal. The last time was. Sunagakure was not afraid, and this time they had a chance to make a comeback. If you can really do what Gong Yi said, you can give it a try. But after thinking for a long time, Nara Shikaku asked a question. What to do with the tail beast? Silence. Gong Yi is silent. In every Dainin village, there are tailed beasts distributed by Senju Hashirama. As little as 1, as many as 2. Although there is only one Konoha, Kyubi 9 tails is the most powerful. There is only one Sunagakure, and Shukaku is weak, but Sunagakure village belongs to the desert area, and its combat power has increased several times. If there is no sand control ninjutsu such as Kazekage 3 and Kazekage IV, it is impossible to subdue Aikyo. Perhaps this is the purpose of the first generation of Hokage to distribute the tailed beasts. With the terrifying power of the tailed beasts, it frightens the villages and does not dare to launch a war easily. This move is somewhat similar to nuclear weapons and nuclear threats. Of tailed beasts to powerful ninjas cannot be compared to the threat of nuclear weapons to ordinary humans. Even later, organizations such as Akatsuki began to plan tailed beasts. It's daring. Gong Yi is self-defeating. With his current strength, he has the power to fight against cage-level powerhouses. But for the tailed beast, he is really not right. Probably this is also one of the reasons why the previous 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen did not want to fight against Tsunagakur. When Tsunagakur was forced to release Shukaku directly, the casualties would be uncontrollable. Nara Shikaku said slowly, if you can push Tsunagakur into a corner, this will only drag Konoha into the quagmire of war. I see, now that the opposing army has been suppressed, they are facing each other. Waiting for the Battle of Iwagakure village, let's hear the result. Jiraiya nodded. So far, he can be considered to have completed the task given to him by the teacher perfectly. Gong Yi remained silent. On his system panel, Yuhi-colored war missions are still flashing Yuhi light. Mission: survive the 3 wars. Mission description: survive the 3rd Ninja World War. Overall progress: 45 inches. Branch missions: complete the defeat of the Tsunagakur arsenal behind the enemy, complete the rescue of Nara Shikaku, complete the leader of the Konoha medical unit, complete the Konoha ninja reputation and reach the respected status, complete the personal end of the war against Sand, complete the additional mission to promote the 3-war process, and kill Chiyo-dun. Evaluation: the task is not over, no evaluation. Reward: it depends on the evaluation. The minimum reward is 10,000 points and a low-level scholar skill. The progress of the 3rd battle is almost halfway through. It was the first time Mingming had fought against Tsunagakur before, and he won only 20%. Now it has jumped to 45%. Other words, the important wars of the 3 world wars basically broke out during this period of time. Then, the Battle of Shinwu-kunchao, which marked the 3rd war, is it about to start? Gong Yi is so active in promoting Konoha to destroy the Sand, mainly because of this Yuhi-colored task. Play a sufficiently important role, the future evaluation will be higher. Tsunagakur village is really destroyed, his evaluation will definitely not be low. But now, considering the existence of the tailed beast, Gong Yi soon came to a conclusion. Jiraiya-sama, Shikaku, Sensei, I have another suggestion. Shikaku asked curiously, you said. Gong Yi took a deep breath. Now that the Tsunagakur army has been repulsed by us, and Chiyo has died by my hands, they won't dare to move in a short time. That being the case, instead of I stay here, it is better for me to secretly go to the land of rain. And here, with Mr. Jiraiya in charge, and Shikaku, Sensei, you can transfer the command, so I think nothing will go wrong. Nara Shikaku frowned. Did you bring the medical team there? Gong Yi shook his head. No, it's enough for me to go alone. There are also a large number of medical ninjas over there, but there is a lack of people to direct them. After I go, I can integrate the medical force. Nara Shikaku thought for a moment, then nodded. This is a good proposal. After you go, you can enhance the strength of our main battlefield. If there is a result there, our side will naturally win. Jiraiya-sama, what do you think? I have no opinion. ... Moonlight Star 1. 6 In the thin, silent jungle, Gong Yi took the first step. Whether I can get credit for the Iwagakure village battlefield, I will make plans after this matter is over, but people will definitely come. Different from the purpose of saving his life back then, he can now make choices for his own interests. And just when he left the battlefield and went to another battlefield. At the gate of Konoha village, a plump woman also walked out with a solemn expression. Looking back at the village of Konoha, she was firmly heading towards the land of rain. This village, I must protect it. It has been tested in the hospital before. Although the fear of blood is not yet complete, as long as I don't see blood, I can still use psychic slugs to help. Even if it's just a contribution, I should stand up. Chapter 157. A-flat combination versus Gongyi. In the jungle, light and shadow travel. A figure stepped lightly on the branch, and in the next moment, it flew to the other side. Gongyi suddenly stopped and listened. Not only that, his mental power is covering a radius of nearly 1,000 meters, observing the nearby situation. Has been almost 2 years since the last breakthrough in divine refining. His spiritual power is growing rapidly now, almost breaking through the 100 stage. It took so long to go from 90 to 100. Gongyi has a hunch that once the breakthrough is over 100, divine refinement will not only be able to reach the 4th floor, but may also have other magical uses. But looking at it now, the 99 points of mental power alone can bring him a lot of benefits. For example, the perception ability close to a kilometer is already comparable to Byakugan's telescopic insight attribute. Under Gongyi's perception, Ruoyu sensed a group of people, and in it, there were 2 huge chakras. Lord Hokage, according to our intelligence unit at the Kumogakure border, there seems to be an elite Kumogakure squad that rushed into our battlefield. 3rd generation of Hokage frowned slightly. What is the specific situation? The ninja below shook his head. I don't know yet, but that. The team is quite powerful, and the 2 teams that arranged us at the border were silenced. As soon as these words came out, the other Jonin in the tent also looked at each other in dismay. The critical moment of these 29 kinds of Iwagakure and Konoha, an elite Kumogakure squad rushed over for what Kaharu Udatane said cautiously. Could it be that they are here to collect battlefield intelligence and observe the military situation of our side and Iwagakure? When everyone heard this guess, they nodded thoughtfully. Sarutobi Hiruzen said, no matter what, it can't be allowed. They get close to my Konoha camp, someone has to drive them away. Namikaze Minato volunteered to stand up. Why don't I lead the team? Who are you going to bring? It's just my team. Kakashi has become Jonin, so he can help me. After listening to the 3 generations, he shook his head. No, since you can cross the border, you are very bold and come to the center of the battlefield. Strength must be tyrannical. Kakashi has become Jonin, and his strength still needs to be honed. This way, you pick 2 other experienced Jonins to go with you. Namikaze Minato didn't object to this opinion either, and quickly picked 2 out of Konoha's Jonin. They are Akamichi Dodo of the Akamichi family, and Inazuka Ja of the Inazuka family, both of whom are outstanding among the Jonin. When Namikaze Minato was about to leave, Sandai suddenly stopped him. Last time I asked you to send a letter to Tsunade, what did she say later? Minato scratched his head. I'm not sure about this. Tsunade-sama just said that she will consider it. The 3 generations sighed and waved their hands. Go early, come back early, pay attention to safety. Well, thank you Hokage-sama for your concern. Minato saluted and left with a hearty smile. Beside him, 2 Jonin with a strong aura quickly followed. Stop. Strong man with dark skin and light yellow hair suddenly waved his hand, and behind him, the 3 of them stopped immediately. Idiot, bastard, how to stop? A strong man wearing sunglasses walked up to the strong man and came up while playing the rhythm. The man called I frowned slightly and looked forward. Not far from them, on a giant tree, there was a figure shrouded in black robes. At this moment, he was looking at them with a pair of deep eyes. Yo, who are you? It's dangerous to block here. Leave quickly, or Lord Killerbee will kill you, yay. The man in sunglasses giggled and said something inexplicable, but he made no secret of the evil spirit in his words. Gong Yi's mouth corners, slightly raised, combination of Kumogakure, I pulled Killerbee behind him and looked at the black-robed figure alertly. Who are you blocking here, and what are you trying to do? Gong Yi shook his head. Maybe I should ask you, why are you running here if you don't stay in the Land of Thunder? Don't you know that ahead is the battlefield between Iwagakure and Konoha villages? I snorted coldly, and a blue and white light appeared on his body. I don't have time to answer your question. If I get in the way again, I'll kill you. Hee hee. Harsh laughter, as if dismissive. I stepped forward and attacked boldly. A burst of blue light flashed and reappeared, already in front of Gong Yi. He punched down. Bang! The black-robed figure shattered in an instant, and even the giant tree it was standing on broke directly from it. Punch is so terrifying. Not to die. On the ground, Gong Yi brushed the corner of his clothes. His expression became slightly solemn. What a strong Raiden Thunder-style ninjutsu. What a fast instant body. Yo, the kid has 2 tricks. Big Brother's Raiden Thunder-style ninjutsu is the best in the world, and Big Brother's instant body technique is the fastest in the ninja world. The kid has eyesight, yeah. Killer Bee was on the side, and couldn't help but rap again. With that hip-hop look, it was only a microphone away. Only I looked at Gong Yi warily. He could see clearly just now that this black-robed man didn't escape by some kind of ninjutsu. He just used the speed of his body to avoid his level of thunder and cruelty. Gong Yi stretched his body. On the body in terms of speed, you are not as good as me. In terms of speed, you are not as good as Yellow Flash. So, how can you be the first and the fastest? I was furious, arrogant, die. Righteous Lei Shen angrily thunder axe. Huge chakra gathered at his feet, kicked down from the air, forming a blue axe. However, the man in black robe did not hide this time, and kicked his foot directly from the ground. Rushed forward. Biao Lianhua. In the air, the black-robed figure turned around suddenly, came to Ai's back, hugged him with both hands, and hit the ground with the momentum of death. Shock. I was taken aback and released Raiden Thunder-style chakra all over, pushing the black-robed figure away. Swish, swish. The 2 figures separated again, and I was covered in blue chakra, like the god of thunder. As for the figure on the opposite side, under the black robe, there was a faint green light emerging, which seemed deep and mysterious. Gong Yi is extremely calm. Just now, he has opened the 8 inner gates to the 6th gate. Only in this way can he keep up with Ai's speed. Elliot was embarrassed, looked at Gong Yi, and rushed up again. Chio dance. 3 jumped from the ground, hit Raiden Thunder-style chakra in his hand and dived down. Using his hand as a knife, he was about to split Gong Yi in half with one knife. Gong Yi frowned. This move, when I used it at his peak, split Uchiha Madara's complete body Susanoo. Not daring to be careless, Gong Yi directly started with Morning Peacock. Yeah, with a screeching sound, Gong Yi rose into the sky. Collided fiercely in the next moment. Boom! Konoha's strongest martial arts. Kumogakur Raiden Thunder-style ninjutsu. A violent roar, accompanied by an unpleasant piercing sound of bones, both sides flew out. Gong Yi took 3 steps back. I took 5 steps back. Hiss. Seeing this scene, the Kumogakur ninjas behind I were shocked. Even Killer Bee opened his mouth wide. This was the first time he had seen that someone could resist his big brother's physical attack. After all, even he was not as strong as his big brother's physical skills now. Your physical skills are not as strong as mine. Gong Yi patted the dust on his body and said indifferently. I forcibly suppressed the trembling on his body, but I have brothers, group. Killer Bee didn't say a word. 8 long or short knives were shaking out from his body, and the cold light shone. Gong Yi sneered, his right hand slanted downwards, and from the palm of his hand, a long golden sword slowly condensed out. Come on, let me experience how capable the combination is. Kumogakur village Reikage all share the same name, I. At this time in my book, the 3rd generation of Reikage is not dead yet, in order to distinguish, so let the 4th generation of Reikage be called I first. Chapter 158. 8-tailed tentacles. Retreat and pretending to recover from injuries, plus the few months on the battlefield. Gong Yi didn't just focus on fusing Hashirama cells, he also spent part of his energy on getting acquainted with the golden escape that controls him. Kekkei Genkei, some strong and some weak. Some Kekkei Genkei can be equipped with multiple sets of blood jitsu ninjutsu, while others can only be used simply and crudely. The difference lies in the extent to which the owner of Kekkei Genkei has developed the bloodline. Gongyi has also developed several usages of Jin Dun these days. The easiest, of course, is Jin Dun Kunwu. From the previous 8, he has been able to split 10. In addition, condensing Jin Dun chakra into a long sword is a change in form. Use. There is another trick, but it is not applicable to the current battlefield. With the golden sword in hand, Gongyi is fearless. I and Killer Bee looked at each other and shot at the same time. One is superb in physical skills, and the other is superb in swordsmanship. Gongyi wielded the golden Dun long sword and dealt with it cautiously. After all, in the original book, Namikaze Minato defeated these two guys, but Minato was also dangerous at the time. Gongyi didn't want to be careless here. After just playing for a while, Gongyi suddenly found that the opponent seems to be very afraid of the sword condensed in his hand. Kai. Asleep, I hurriedly avoided, but he was full of Raiden Thunder-style chakra. There was a bloodstain on the body. Gongyi was unreasonable, and the long sword suddenly turned and slashed down. Killer Bee hurriedly circled in front of him, blocking it with a long knife. However, Gongyi's sword was so powerful that it slashed Killer Bee's long sword, slashing his chest with blood. Hey, what kind of chakra are you? Why are you so sharp? Killer Bee grinned and hid beside Kiba, covering the wound on his chest. Gongyi didn't answer. His eyes were extremely cold. He had discovered that the Jin Dun chakra, which was condensed into one, was slower than kunai in speed, but its sturdiness and sharpness were maximized. Even Ai's Raiden Thunder-style ninjutsu and Killer Bee's characteristic long sword can't handle the sharpness of the Jin Dun long sword. At this time, Ai's face changed slightly. Golden chakra, a physique stronger than me, could it be that you are the dark blue demon of Konoha? Exclamation mark quote. Oh, it seems that my reputation has spread quite far. Gongyi laughed and then said, sneaked into my Konoha battlefield, just stay here today. Opening his mouth, majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation surged out. Not only that, Gongyi even released 2 more ninjutsu techniques. Doden Earth Style, Shark Spear. Doden Earth Style cracked the earth and turned his palms. At this time, the earth cracked, the spear broke through the air, and the sea of fire surged. In the sea of fire, a golden long sword fluttered and instantly transformed into 2 short knives. That his identity has been recognized, Gongyi is also holding on to it. Keep them here. Moreover, in order to prevent the 2 of them from combining their melee moves with their Nirvana Thunder Plow hot knife, Gongyi also put a ripper and turned his palms. So now, what are they going to do? Boom! The earthquake shook, and the trees all around collapsed. Fire spewed out and spread out, igniting the fallen trees and forming a raging fire. Halfway through the advance, the black spear disappeared. Gongyi frowned, and summoned the 2 Jin Dun daggers that he had transformed into. Smoke cleared, Gongyi's pupils shrank suddenly. A gigantic octopus tail, with a gigantic force, blocking the attack of Gongyi, will combine and guard the back. 8 tails. Bull Ghost. Boom! Another huge octopus tail jumped into the sky, and then shot down domineeringly. With that kind of strength, with that kind of coverage area, as long as Gongyi is photographed, he will surely die. But just as he was about to fall, the octopus tail suddenly stopped, and then a coquettish sound rang out. Go away. Bang! With a loud bang, the octopus tail was thrown alive. Even Killer Bee and I were thrown out. It's Tsunade, then, let's go. After Ai Chao put a wide range of Raiden Thunder-style ninja surgery, hugged Killer Bee, and ran out. Tsunade wanted to chase, but was stopped by Gongyi. That, the man in sunglasses has a tailed beast, it's 8 tails. Tsunade's eyes widened, he's a Jinchuriki column force, and the Kumogakure village dares to let a person Jinchuriki column force out, isn't he afraid of the tailed beast running away? Gongyi shook his head, he couldn't explain it well, Killer Bee was recognized by the Eight Tails, an existence that was infinitely close to the perfect person's Jinchuriki column force. Now that Killer Bee has not completely mastered the power of the Eight Tails, he can only mobilize chakra, or release a few chakra tentacles. Few years, Killer Bee will become a master, and his strength will be even more terrifying than the average cage-level powerhouse. Gong Yi suddenly changed the subject. Tsunade, sensei, why did you come to the battlefield? Tsunade crossed his chest with his arms, and squeezed out a tempting huge arc. Why can't I come? This is a battle for the survival of the village, and I have to go to the battlefield. Then your phobia? Gong Yi asked tentatively. Tsunade glared at him impatiently. What nonsense are you asking? It's a big deal, like 3 generations of old men, Ten asked. Gong Yi smirked, and suddenly frowned, turned to look behind. 3 figures quickly appeared in front of them. Master Tsunade, hey, Gong Yi, why are you here? Tsunade snorted, not wanting to talk to these juniors. Gong Yi had to explain. On the Sunagaku battlefield, I killed Chiyo, and Lord Jiraiya can bring a large army and suppress the Sunagaku army. So I came here to support the battlefield. Tsunade, sensei, also came to support. Hearing the news from Gong Yi, Namikaze Minato was overjoyed and showed an excited smile. The 2 ninjas beside him also smiled happily. The pressure on the Sunagaku battlefield is relieved, and then there is Tsunade, one of Sanin, to help, plus Gong Yi, who is as famous as Namikaze Minato, and the frontal battlefield is somewhat assured. Okay, Namikaze Minato looked around at the scene and opened his eyes suddenly. This is, who did you fight with? The ground at this time was as if it had been plowed by an ox. The earth was torn apart and burned again by the flames, and some giant trees were still nearby, blazing brightly. Especially Tsunade used strange power to throw the 8-tailed chakra octopus tentacles out, and there was a ravine hundreds of meters long on the ground. Sa was truly terrifying. Tsunade glanced at it, pointed at Gong Yi and said, "What did this kid do, you ask him?" Gong Yi reluctantly explained. I met a Kumogakur team, which included the Kumogakur village group, and they fought with them. I couldn't control it, and this scene was created. Hearing what Gong Yi said, the 3 of Namikaze Minato opened their mouths wide and looked at Gong Yi in surprise. Tsunade asked suddenly, your injury is healed. Under the black robe, Gong Yi's body stiffened. Chapter 159. Konoha Duo, join forces again. The Land of Rain. Gong Yi's first mission is completed here. This time, although it was extremely dangerous at the time, there was also a bit of emotional aftertaste. Just now Tsunade suddenly asked about Gong Yi's injury, but fortunately it was covered up by Gong Yi. His answer was actually quite convincing. Gong Yi himself is a master among medical ninjas. It has been more than a year since the Battle of Kurigakur village. Severe the injury is, it will get better. As for why he said it would take several years to grow well, Gong Yi can only say that he made a mistake in his judgment. After a few people heard this, they would only admire Gong Yi's superb medical ninjutsu, but would not think about other things. Gong Yi actually knew very well that when he killed Chiyo in an instant on the Sunagaku battlefield, he couldn't hide the situation of his recovery. Instead, tell the truth. Was raining lightly in the sky, and a group of 5 people hurried to the camp of the Konoha army. When they arrived, a large crowd were shocked. Shocked that Namikaze Minato didn't leave for a long time, and I was even more shocked that Tsunade and Gong Yi came together. 3 generations of Hokage are the happiest one, and once Tsunade comes, the pressure on the frontal battlefield is much less. However, there are some things that should be prepared, and Tsunade cannot mess up other arrangements just because Tsunade is alone. We have fought 4 large-scale wars with the village of Iwagakure. The first time we lost, the second time we won, the third time we lost, and the fourth time we had a flank attack with 2,000 reinforcements, and we tied the opponent. Judging from the number of ninja troops, Our Konoha soldiers are divided into 2 battlefields and are at a disadvantage. 3 generations of Hokage analyze the current situation one by one with a heavy expression to everyone, and his position was the highest existence in Konoha village. What is considered must be the most comprehensive. Even things outside the battlefield, he has already considered. Under the circumstances, if it continues to drag on, Konoha can easily be dragged down. You all know today's information. Kumogakure village has sent a team to spy on our specific strength. I am afraid that as the next step, when they find out, they will have to do something to our Konoha. So, we can't delay this battle any longer. The 3rd generation slapped the table fiercely, with an extremely cold expression on his face. Looking at Tsunade, then at Gongyi, he took a deep breath and said, with Tsunade and Gongyi joining us, we already have a chance to defeat the Iwagakure army in the frontal battle. Before the news of Tsunade and Gongyi's arrival has spread, we must end this war as soon as possible. Everyone nodded. Tsunade's prestige came down from World War II along with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. And now, Orochimaru has proved himself, and Jiraiya has successfully completed the mission this time. If he wants to come to Tsunade to be as famous as the 2 of them, his strength will not be much worse. Especially Tsunade's psychic beast, Slug. It's a big killer on the battlefield. As long as there is enough chakra, countless small slugs can be differentiated, bound to the Konoha ninja, and healed anytime, anywhere. Invisibly, the number of ninjas in Konoha has almost doubled. Tsunade was a little hesitant, not knowing that his disease is still good, shouldn't everyone say it? But looking at the morale of the crowd, she thought of a compromise. I'll tell the 3-generation-old man later that once the war starts, I'll only use psychic slugs to come out to help everyone, hide behind a little bit, and don't care if you don't see it. This is probably the biggest contribution she can make to Konoha now. 3 generations of adults, we have to consider another thing. Suddenly, a ninja stood up in the field, and everyone looked and found that it was Yamanaka Inoichi. Without Shikaku, Inoichi is a smarter Konoha ninja. The 4th time against Sunagakure, they drew with us. In this case, Sunagakure will definitely mobilize support from the village. Frowned when they heard this. Previous 3 generations have also analyzed that Konoha is at a disadvantage in the number of ninjas. In the village of Iwagakure, only 12,000 ninja troops were invested in the front. But in the village of Iwagakure, there are at least 5,000 ninjas. If the battle is fierce, Iwagakure village imitates what Konoha did last time, and suddenly a ninja army of more than 1,000 people burst out. It is very likely to destroy the whole battle situation. If there are more than 5,000 people, it may even destroy Konoha alive. This question, the 3 generations of Hokage laughed. Hiyashi, come and talk. Hyuga Hiyashi smiled slightly, stood up and said, I sent 10 elite teams of the 10 Hyuga family to infiltrate the land of the land. Finally, under the investigation, they found that if they wanted to send reinforcements, they could only go through the Shinwukun Bridge. After all, there are thousands of ninjas, and if you carry too many supplies, it is impossible to walk on the sidewalk, you must walk on the road. That is to say, we only need to send people to destroy the Shinwukun Bridge and cut off the other party's reinforcements. Then in a head-to-head confrontation, with Princess Tsunade joining us, we can hope to win. Speaking, everyone's eyes lit up. Even this kind of thing has already been taken into account, so why worry about this war? But the question arises again, who to send and how many people to send? Shinwukun Bridge, but a bridge. It was back then Iwagakure village, the famous craftsman of the country of craftsmen, led hundreds of civilians, and took a year to build. Even with the means of a ninja, it is not a matter of a while to destroy it. Of course, once it is destroyed, the support troops of Iwagakure village will definitely not be able to get through. Yamanaka Inoichi calmly reminded, our frontal troops are very few. And if you want to sneak into the land of the earth and destroy the Shinwukun Bridge, there can't be too many people, otherwise they will definitely be discovered. Just as Hokage was thinking, two people stood up. I'll go. I'll go. Gong Yi and Namikaze Minato froze for a while, then looked at each other and smiled. Gong Yi explained, my strength has recovered 7 or 8 points now, and it is not a problem to sneak into the land of the earth. Tsunade, sensei on the frontal battlefield, she can completely replace my role. Namikaze Minato said to himself, it will take at least 5 days to go to the land of the earth. And I use Horaishin, combined with the imprint I left on the border of the land, it only takes 2 days at most to arrive. Yamanaka Inoichi shook his head, the number of people is still a little less, in case the other party sends a strong person to stop you. I'll bring my own squad. As I said last time, Kakashi has become Jonin, and even if I get dragged, he can lead the team to complete the mission of destroying the bridge independently. Namikaze Minato said with a smile, and then spread his hands to Gong Yi. Gong Yi, don't go, leave this kind of security task without fighting, leave it to me. A group of people are ashamed, God, he is a security mission. Sneak into the land of the earth, destroy the Shinwukun bridge, and even run into the enemy's support army. It's even more dangerous than on the battlefield. But this is Namikaze Minato, who always leads the way in the face of dangerous tasks, and does everything for the village. The 3 generations watched this scene and sighed in their hearts. His 3rd disciples, Tsunade did not mention. He was very satisfied with Orochimaru, but Orochimaru voluntarily refused to go to the battlefield this time. Jiraiya always gives a feeling of not enough. Calm. Now it seems that this disciple taught by Jiraiya is more reliable. He thought about it and asked a question that was surprising, but he took it for granted. Gong Yi, Namikaze Minato, since you are called the Konoha duo, then this mission, let the 2 of you go together. Gong Yi and Namikaze Minato looked at each other and smiled. This is 2 people, let's join forces again. Phyllu reminds you, an LT, otherwise the collection of IP and GT. Chapter 160, Bakuten, Explosion Style, Ninja, Hunting, 5th Update. Gong Yi, come with me. Gong Yi was pulled by Tsunade in surprise and came to a secluded place. He was still a little puzzled, but when he was pinched by that soft little hand, he no longer resisted. Tsunade turned around and was about to speak. When he saw Gong Yi rubbing the hand he had just touched, he couldn't help but glared at him. How can you become so nasty after spending a few months with Jiraiya at such a young age? Gong Yi shrugged. What's nasty? Isn't this thinking about going on an easy task? Before leaving, miss the teacher's hand. Boom. Tsunade knocked Gong Yi hard. Makes you miss, makes your task easier. Deep breath. Tsunade looked at him seriously. Do you really know the danger of this mission? Gong Yi no longer did anything wrong, and said seriously, I know, but Minato also knows. In the village, there is always a need for someone to do these things. In the young man's words can be heard by the woman. She sighed, knowing she couldn't stop it, and took out a scroll. This is. Tsunade said calmly. I thought you were seriously injured before. I was afraid that you would not be able to regain your strength. Study the secret technique by reading the books of the Senju family and my own understanding, which I wanted to use for you to increase your strength. Although you have recovered a lot now, this mission is also very dangerous, so I decided to give it to you. In addition, this secret technique also stimulates cell activity to a certain extent and maintains the effect of muscle regeneration. Maybe if you stick with it for a long time, you can restore your appearance. Hearing Tsunade's explanation, Gong Yi was stunned. Subconsciously opened the scroll. Yin seal. Sure enough, it was this secret technique, but I didn't expect that it would appear in such a place for such a reason and in such a way. He glanced up at Tsunade, and on her forehead, a faint diamond mark loomed. To herself before even Tsunade had practiced for a long time. Tsunade's tone became more and more deep. Every time she sees an important person around her on the battlefield, she always has a bad premonition. Turning around, Tsunade suppressed his emotions and said softly, come back alive, and don't get hurt again. Stepped out, Tsunade's body froze before he could land. Gongyi hugged her gently, her plump body was soft to the touch of ultimate. Years of training, coupled with the stimulation of chakra, Gongyi's height has gone from being a head lower than Tsunade. Now, it has become faintly as tall as Tsunade. Smelling the fragrance of the golden hair, Gongyi said calmly, "Don't worry, I'm strong and I'll be fine." Tsunade's mind went blank. She had never been embraced. She wanted to resist, but just listened to Gongyi's words, but slowly became quiet. Also, if you're afraid of blood, don't go into battle. Some things don't necessarily have to be done by women, and there is me. Letting go, Gongyi smiled and waved goodbye. The black figure, under the rain curtain, drifted farther and farther, faster and faster. Hey, am I so bold? Fortunately I didn't get killed. With lingering fears, Gongyi quickened his steps and dared to hug Tsunade. This is really a high-risk move. It has the power to provoke even a tailed beast, and it is estimated that no one in the ninja world would dare to do so. But, Gongyi raised his hand, thinking that he just took a sneak measurement of Tsunade's size, and raised his eyebrows. At least start at 36. It feels good to touch. No, you have to run fast, so as not to be caught up and beaten. Now that I'm almost healed, she won't be merciful. Shoo! A figure quickly dissipated in the heavy rain. And in the secluded part of the camp, Tsunade was still immersed in the feeling of being held in his arms just now. Until she tugged at her clothes and felt stuck. Suddenly, she frowned, and then burst into anger. I'm going to kill Jiraiya. A good person will be taught badly by him. Konoha army of the river country is stationed. Jiraiya is facing the hot sun, looking at the river, the looming figure of the medical ninja bathing, drooling. Suddenly a sneeze came out. It's weird, what am I sneezing at during the day? No, I was found. ... After this is the land of the land, and there is no mark of my horizon in front of it. Everyone pay attention, don't be discovered. Namikaze Minato instructed, looking worried, especially on his 3/3 disciples. I don't know if I was right or wrong in bringing them out this time. Kakashi, Rin Nohara, and Uchiha Obito nodded cautiously. Occasionally, 3 people will set their eyes on another person beside them. Gongyi, the students who were in the same class as them are now ahead of everyone. Nohara Rin asked worriedly, Gongyi-kun, your injury is not good, why do you want to participate in this mission? Under the black robe, Gongyi smiled softly, don't worry about me, my injury is almost healed. As for why he wants to participate in this mission, Gongyi has always had an idea in his heart. He wanted to get a white zetsu to study. This thing, although it was the one who got hit with infinite Tsukuyomi at the beginning. But those who later became active in the ninja world, were cultivated with Hashirama cells, and then cultivated with the huge vitality in the body of 10 tails. Mass production. Gongyi is very curious how it uses Hashirama cells. Maybe it can give him a little inspiration to fuse Hashirama cells and speed up the fusion. Have you had enough rest? Namikaze Minato stood up. If we have enough rest, we will go. It will take at least 2 days to get to Shinwukun Bridge, and there is no good place to rest on the way. Well, teacher. Nohara Rin nodded and said. Enough, you can leave anytime. Uchiha Obito waved his fist, quite excited. Namikaze Minato looked at Kakashi and Gongyi. Seeing that neither of them said anything, he waved his hand and cautiously stepped into the border of the land of the land. 2 days later, in the hinterland of the land of Earth. Still a long way from Shinwukun Bridge. However, Gongyi had 5 people and had to stop. In front of them, there is an elite team of more than 30 people, blocking the front. Sure enough, Tsuchikage-sama is right, I have caught you. With an exploding head came out with a fierce look, staring at Gongyi and the others. Namikaze Minato, you're out of luck when you meet me. Namikaze Minato frowned, and quickly explained to Gong Yi. This person is named Kari, and he is the captain of the blasting force in Iwagakure village. Kekkei Genkei Bakuden, explosion style. I assassinated him before, but his Bakuden, explosion style, is tricky. Gong Yi shook his head, his eyes subconsciously cast into the distance. Minato, maybe you should worry about something else. What? Tsuchikage arranged for such an elite force to come here to guard. I must have really transferred support troops from the village. According to the time, I'm afraid it will be too late. Namikaze Minato's face changed greatly. The mission must not fail. Go, this unit, just leave it to me. Gong Yi wiggled his sleeves and stepped out, blocking the front of more than 30 Iwagakure ninjas. His mighty aura suddenly erupted. Some people wanted to expand the surrounding area, but several golden lights flew out, blood dripped, and the corpse fell to the ground. No one dared to move again. Hunt, your opponent, it's me.